social, nothing. Just
you have to say.
sorry for that. Good afternoon, everybody. Are you here? Good afternoon. I know you don't expect in the European Parliament that people will say good afternoon and then you need to reply, but today we try to make it more interactive. Welcome to the Skills Rights for All S&D seminar taking place today in the European Parliament. You will receive later on more information from me what is this event today. Before that, I would like to invite Mr. Jep Hoffod, who is Vice President of S&D Group, and who is going to make an opening address. Please take the floor.
Thank you so much, and also thank you so much for organizing, I think, this very, very important seminar on the skill rights for all, a very important topic. I apologize for Udo Bullmann, who cannot be here, but this day is it's a very sad day in Europe, by the way, because of course, as you see now, UK invoked Article 50, and we have an extraordinary group meeting on that matter going on right now in the S&D group. And also, when we think about, for example, young people, it's obvious that if you look at the young people in the UK, they all voted to remain, overwhelmingly. And I think really this topic you're going to discuss today on the skills rights for all, this is a topic where when we work together in Europe, we can really achieve much more for young people and for everybody than working separately. But I don't want to dedicate my time to this topic, but I just want to say it's a sad day, but it's also a day where we need to reflect on what we can do together, I think. So ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the Eurobarometer, for example, 57% of European youth, they feel marginalized, 57%. They feel excluded from economic and social life because of economic crisis. This in itself, a European crisis, if society and its institutions are not felt to be open and available for our youngest citizens, then we are failing not only you, the future of Europe, the young people, but also our European Union and our values of solidarity, inclusiveness and equality. This is why we come together today, to become a little sharper, a little bit more focused on how to move Europe closer to young Europeans and make sure that all young Europeans can take their deserved and full place in society, both socially and, of course, professionally. On the one hand, we have to acknowledge that far too many skilled and educated young Europeans still face enormous difficulties in securing stable, decent and properly paid employment. They are not given a fair chance. Too often they are given no chance at all in succeeding in their chosen field. Across Europe, young people are forced to enter precarious employment and scrape by, often worse off than the generation before them. We see that, unfortunately. They are paid with opportunities or free experiences when they should rightfully be presented with contract and regular pay. That's one of the big challenges we have seen in many of our societies. On the other hand, we also must ask ourselves whether the training and vocational skills program made available to young Europeans are adequate. Myself, I'm also, besides being a member of the European Parliament, a chairman, president of a public educational institution that comprises of high school, business college, and technical schools together, and supplementary training and adult vocational training also together. And I have to say, I know at first hand the challenge of providing both relevant, also high quality options for education, especially in the rural areas of Europe, which I'm also from originally. As Group Vice President of Youth Politics, Social Partnership and NGOs, I'm especially glad to see strong representation by some know these challenging conditions all too well, and those who represent young Europeans. By working together to ensure that every young European encounters a world of opportunity to build and use their skills, whatever they chosen path of their profession. I know it's going to be a very interesting seminar. I look forward to see the outcome, and I wish you the best of luck in your work. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kofod. It was inspirational. So how this session is going to work? First of all, I will take just 20 seconds to present myself. I'm Marko Paunovic. I cooperate with S&D Group. We had one interesting session a year and a half ago about Erasmus+. And now we're going to speak something that maybe is somehow connected with that. But we're going to speak with you, and we try to interact today with you. That's why I would like to see who is here in the room, because we need to make a reality check. So if you find yourself as an answer, just raise up your hand. For example, the members of the European Parliament. Can we see the members of the European Parliament? Okay, we got some of them in the panel. Some. Yes, and also some new will arrive later on.
There is a group meeting, on Brexit, and maybe they will come now.
Mm-hmm. We know that today's session is hardly going to be the most popular in Brussels in the times of Brexit, but we still dedicate 3.5 hours for this. European Commission. We got the European Commission in the first row. Thank you for coming to this session. Somebody from the Council, maybe? Nobody? I guess we all know what is happening today. Who is coming from the north of Europe? I would like to see. North of Europe. Where is the north? Nobody from the north of Europe. North of Europe usually probably sort out all the problems with the skills and the jobs, so that's why they are not interested in this session, probably. Yeah. Somebody coming from the south of Europe, including myself. So we have some south people here. East of Europe, only one? Okay. We have 2 people from the east and people coming from the west. Coming from the west. Okay, thank you all of you for being here. What about regions in Brussels? Somebody from the representation offices of the region? One. Great that we have also regions here. Educational institutions? Some educational institutions, great. And civil sector organizations. Civil sector organizations, okay, we have a representation. Youth organizations. One youth organization, okay, though we have young people in the room as well. Some of you probably working on European qualification framework. Let me see. We got some people as well, because their EQF is one of the things that is maybe will be a topic today. Youth guarantee working with young people not in employment, education or training. Okay, thank you. And finally, some of you who use the Erasmus+ in some way. Okay, so we get a lot of people using Erasmus program. How is going to work today? First of all, it is important that this session is also live streamed online. So you see the link over there. If you're in the room, I guess there is no need for you to get online. You're here. But if your colleagues are willing to follow this discussion, you can send them the link. But oppositely, if you're willing to share some outcomes or findings in this session online, this is the hashtag social rights. So feel free to engage. The structure of today's session will be separate in two main panels. The first panel is going to start just a couple of minutes after this introductory remarks. So the reality check: are the current skills policies reaching the people's needs? Starting at 3:20, maybe we are late for the 5 minutes approximately. And the panel number 2, towards a real skills guarantee for all. How it's going to work? We have 5 or 6 people in the first panel as introductory remarks, and then as well for the second panel. They've been instructed to give not more than 5 minutes input. If they go over these 5 minutes, they're going to start giving some strange sounds, so they realize they are getting over that. And after that, we're going to try to engage approximately 1 hour in 1 hour discussion. I have prepared some extra questions for you, so we're going to play a little bit and also have interesting discussion. That is also the main outcome of this event. So have a proper discussion on the topic, but also create some kind of useful tips for the policy makers. So I try to get some inspirational quotes so we can kick off the first panel. It says, European Skills and Jobs Survey has revealed that about 45% of the EU's adult workers believe that their skills can either be developed or utilized at work. From this statement, it seems that citizens really know what they need. And the question of the first panel is, exactly, are the current skills and policies reaching people's needs? Are those needs that people know about them are really reflected in the policies? I was also last week moderating one conference with young people inside the presidency inside the Maltese presidency, and we had a 24 hours hackathon on future of Europe. And one sentence pop up out of this long session. Young people said, we would like to see Europe in 10 years, where young people's interests and profile are reflected in the co-creation of educational curriculum design. It was very interesting that young people would like to maybe take part more in design of the different curriculum. So I give you just a couple of inspirational things, and I would like to invite the CULT coordinator and also member of the S&D group, Ms. Silvia Costa, to give introductory remarks.
Thank you so much. Sorry for my voice. It's a terrible thing, but today I'm not so loud voice. I prefer, to continue in my proper language, if you will allow me, also because otherwise it's a double disadvantage. And so if you can hear your headphone is better. Welcome to everybody. I continue in Italian. Bene, I continue in Italian, so okay, you have already done. Intanto vorrei cominciare dicendo un welcome a tutti e a tutte e anche ai nostri relatori. Credo che sia tutti noi oggi, credo che ci sentiamo in una giornata, non una bella giornata per l'Europa, e sicuramente siamo tutti molto, io dico così, solidali comunque con quello che sta succedendo, perché credo che sia qualcosa che ferisce profondamente l'Unione Europea, ma anche per le conseguenze che avrà e per i cittadini europei e per i cittadini della Gran Bretagna. E sono solidale con i tanti giovani della Gran Bretagna, lo dico con molta chiarezza, che avevano votato per Remain, ma che oggi si sentono che sono in una prospettiva di rischio di perdere quella che è invece sono i contenuti di una doppia cittadinanza e di una partecipazione piena a tutte le attività educative, di lavoro, di professionalità e di circolazione, ma questo vale per tutti i cittadini naturalmente. E io mi auguro che lo spazio della condivisione dell'educazione, della cultura e della ricerca resti comunque uno spazio che trovi una sua nuova opportunità e che possa consentire comunque di avere sempre un dialogo molto forte. Il gruppo SD ha deciso di dedicare questa iniziativa a un tema che per noi è centrale, quello delle risorse umane, di cui probabilmente non si parla abbastanza nel dibattito pubblico europeo, talvolta in quello anche nazionale, e che invece ormai tutte le ricerche dimostrano, e poi le evidenze, ci ha detto poco fa, che è da lì che bisogna partire. Vorrei dire che è stata una condivisione che abbiamo fatto con il vicepresidente Bullman, con il vicepresidente con Giuseppe che avete sentito poco fa, Kofod, ma anche con l'aiuto alla coordinatrice del gruppo SD nella commissione AMPL, e quindi siamo Cultura e AMPL, abbiamo deciso di fare insieme questa iniziativa e vedrete che 2 panel sono il primo coordinato da me e il secondo da lei. Vorrei dire subito che talvolta anche le priorità indicate dalla Commissione europea rispetto a questo tema hanno messo molto a fuoco il tema delle competenze digitali, dell'energia, insomma si parla molto di infrastrutture, ma in realtà poi la capacità di essere attori globali competitivi e anche con capacità di inclusione sociale, di accesso alle nuove competenze, di possibilità di nuovo lavoro anche in questi campi, non deve mettere in secondo piano il tema della formazione e dell'alta formazione e dell'istruzione anche superiore. Oggi noi vogliamo invece fare questo e riteniamo che ci siano sicuramente dei passi in avanti in questa legislatura. Penso all'agenda europea per le skills, che è sicuramente, come dire, l'azione strategica che è stata proposta dalla Commissione, la stiamo valutando nelle diverse commissioni, siamo ancora agli inizi delle 10 azioni previste, nei 3 obiettivi che invece condividiamo. Ricordiamo che le 3 obiettivi erano quelle di valutare primo la qualità e la pertinenza dell'apprendimento, quindi mettere al centro l'apprendimento, non solo l'azione dell'offerta formativa, perché quello che si chiedeva prima, si incrociano effettivamente competenze richieste e offerta formativa, questo è il nodo, ma anche la verifica degli apprendimenti. Il secondo obiettivo è quello della comparazione delle qualifiche e dei titoli per consentire una circolazione vera in Europa, ma anche per consentire una maggiore adeguatezza dei profili confrontabili. E poi il terzo obiettivo che condividiamo certamente è quello di far sì che tutti i sistemi nazionali, ma con un minimo di cornice europea, mettono più a fuoco un'analisi dell'esito di diplomati e laureati poi nelle strategie di occupazione, quindi anche far capire qual è la connessione reale fra le attuali skills e competenze che dà il sistema dell'istruzione, il sistema della formazione professionale rispetto alle competenze. Io ritengo che dobbiamo come gruppo mettere in evidenza alcune questioni che ci stanno molto a cuore e poi dopo daremo la parola naturalmente a tutti i nostri esperti e ospiti. E la prima è questa: io credo che dobbiamo avere una concezione dell'obiettivo, della risposta alle trasformazioni rapidissime del mercato del lavoro europeo e internazionale, sicuramente con l'ammodernamento dei sistemi, con un'attenzione maggiore appunto ai contenuti, alla qualità dell'apprendimento e anche alle competenze che sono effettivamente competenze richieste, ma anche con l'ambizione di innovare lo stesso mercato, di creare personalità libere che hanno una capacità imprenditoriale di se stessi, che hanno un'attitudine che non nasce soltanto dalla formazione, dalle competenze formali, ma anche dalle cosiddette competenze informali o competenze chiave, in particolare sottolineerei di cittadinanza, digitali naturalmente, ma anche di autonomia, di imprenditorialità. Questo è un obiettivo che ci sembra molto importante sottolineare. L'altro focus per noi importante è il fatto che oggi noi ci confrontiamo con una disuguaglianza crescente in Europa, con una povertà educativa che non è soltanto povertà economica, e questi 2 aspetti stanno diventando uno degli indicatori più tragici e di maggiore, secondo me, pericolosità per l'inclusione sociale, per l'ascensore sociale che l'istruzione ha sempre rappresentato, e anche perché quando si ha un basso livello o non un'adeguata formazione iniziale, è alta, sappiamo perfettamente che questo poi comporterà lungo l'arco della vita un minore accesso e una minore alla formazione long life learning ma anche alla comprensione di aver bisogno di ulteriore formazione. Quindi questo tema del long life learning deve rimanere, secondo me, una cornice importante, non perdiamola di vista, anche se dobbiamo essere certamente più attenti a un altro aspetto, l'integrazione dei sistemi. Questo vale nel mio paese, vale in tanti paesi. Noi abbiamo un sistema dell'istruzione che dialoga poco anche con i sistemi dell'istruzione e formazione professionale, ma anche con il mercato del lavoro. E ora, senza ridurre tutto alla skills on the job, noi dobbiamo però avere un quadro concettuale che ci faccia capire anche i possibili passaggi fra i diversi sistemi senza essere penalizzati. Esperienze interessanti ci sono in molti paesi, c'è la dual education, non c'è solo quella. E credo che questo sia un altro punto che potremo chiedere anche ai nostri esperti. L'altra questione è che noi dobbiamo ridurre anche il precoce abbandono degli studi, che è ancora dell'11% in Europa, ma con purtroppo, sapete, delle diversità molto grandi e una quota più alta, per esempio, nel mio paese, e quindi tutte le strategie per ridurre questo sono fondamentali. Accanto a questo credo che sia molto importante anche alcune iniziative lanciate dalla Commissione, penso alla coalizione per l'apprendistato, penso all'alleanza anche per le competenze digitali. Ecco, tutte cose che vorremmo vedere più concretamente. L'Europass che che sta creando forse qualche problema negli Stati membri, che si sentono ancora non aver ancora risolto completamente il tema del riconoscimento del sistema IQF e che si sentono sollecitati ad andare avanti. Forse c'è bisogno anche di fare registrare un po' che punto siamo. Queste sono le questioni sul tappeto. Credo che accanto a questo ci sia un'ultima ma importante per noi questione che riguarda chiaramente l'inclusione sociale e l'integrazione. Oggi l'educazione e la formazione si devono far carico anche del dialogo interculturale, della capacità di creare ponti in un'Europa che crea muri. Questo mi sembra molto importante, ma soprattutto è interessante anche l'azione prevista dall'agenda per le skills per riconoscere finalmente uno strumento di riconoscimento delle competenze e qualifiche dei migranti. Su questo ci sono dei progetti e delle attività sul campo molto interessanti, spero che la Commissione ne faccia tesoro. Bene, a questo punto queste sono un po' alcune delle questioni. Naturalmente io so anche che è stata anche annunciata, è stata anche presentata dal commissario Navracsics una comunicazione sull'innovazione della istruzione, e che ha 3 ambiti. Siamo in attesa di avere le prime azioni concrete. Ecco, penso che questo può completare un quadro che deve vedere tutti gli strumenti a disposizione molto più resi diciamo effettivi, e accanto in tutto questo trasversalmente c'è la grande questione della formazione dei docenti e dell'adeguamento del loro aggiornamento. Questo direi che è un po' il quadro. Posso dare com'è la regia? Io avrei piacere di presentare, li presenta lei? Presento io, perché c'è una regia del nostro moderatore che voglio rispettare. Presento io i nostri
I can present and then you can pose the question.
Allora, ok, please.
Thank you.
Now we present our experts in the first panel, please.
I know you have a question for the panel. You want to challenge the panel, so feel free the same. Who is with us today for the first panel? First of all, it's Emilian Pavel. He was he is as well shadow reporter on New Skills Agenda report, amongst the other responsibilities. Then we have Connie Reuter. Sorry if I pronounce a little bit different than your correct name. He is the Secretary General of Solidar. Then we have as well Charles Howard. Is coming from the Think Young. Is a research manager. Antonio Ranieri, coming from CEDEFOP. As well, we have Alen Maletic from Lifelong Learning Platform. Besides those panelists, I have asked before who is coming from the European Commission as well. As you could see, they are sitting in the first row, but especially Michael Tosh, that is head of unit for the schools, the school unit, and as well Sonia Peresini, that is coming from the DG Employment, head of unit in DG Employment. And the rest of the colleagues, I got only 2. But I have no doubt you're going to engage in the discussion with us, and then we can maybe see here who are the other colleagues as well. So I pass floor to you to challenge the panel a little bit.
Ok, thank you. Una domanda molto semplice ma centrale ad Emilian Pavel, che ringrazio per essere qui, e che appunto è shadow rapporteur dell'agenda delle skills. Credi che questo strumento, che questa policy proposta dalla Commissione vada nella giusta direzione e davvero noi riusciamo, ed è focalizzata a quel quesito iniziale, cioè riusciremo a rendere più effettivo la messa a disposizione di queste competenze ai cittadini?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would also like to mention something about Brexit. One of our main concerns, being a Romanian MEP in the employment committee, I am thinking about the Romanians that are high-skilled and skilled in Romania, but high-skilled and working in Great Britain, and about their rights and about their future there, but also about the over 1 million British workers that are also high-skilled and live in other member states, and about their future as well. So we will have in the employment committee in the future a lot of challenges to deal with, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that really the softer tone of today may be even more softer in the future regarding Theresa May. At the beginning, we saw that 45% of the European citizens think that their skills can be improved or need to be improved. I think with the can, we can say that 100% of the people, their skills can be improved and will be improved with the new needs that will come with the digital evolution. So we have a lot to do with this regards. If you look at the latest stats, indeed, current skills policies have not yet reached society. So the answer is not a yes or no answer. It is difficult to take up this challenge and to find the real solutions for that. So when I look to the skills policy and in the new skills agenda, I have asked myself two questions. And normally it's the other way, but I would like to share those two questions with you. So do we have enough information and knowledge to deliver the best skills agenda? And with we, I mean the public institutions and the public sector. And the second question, can the public sector alone bear the responsibility of delivering education and training in Europe? I think not. And the answer to this is, of course, simple, in one word, it's partnership. I was yesterday a speaker at one Google event that tackled one particular set of skills, and I really think that partnerships can be the future of providing the perfect or the best skills that our society and our citizens need, and our labor market needs, our companies need. So when hearing our moderator talking about the hackathon, about the future of Europe, and thinking about 2 hours ago when together with Startup Europe we discussed about a hackathon, policy hackathon for startups, I really think that these kind of events like we have today and similar that will come are policy hackathons in the skills department. I believe that the new skills agenda for Europe proposed by the Commission, and I'm happy to see that the Commission is very, very well represented, is a positive step and towards a better balance between skills needed by individuals, the labor market, and societies. I also believe that better skills matching should improve the access of skilled and competent people to the labor market. Now is the time for a major update of the education and training sector, and we have at least a few members of the education sector, encompassing all its strands, with formal, non-formal, and informal. We must ensure access to learning and training opportunities to the European citizen at every stage of life. And my colleague Silvia Costa mentioned lifelong learning, which is very, very important, so that our citizens can acquire both hard skills as well as transversal skills such as numeracy, digital literacy, critical thinking, and of course, not at the end, social skills. As the S&D Shadow Rapporteur for the new skills, I will focus on guaranteeing an official VET. I was also working in the past months intense on the vocational education and training, ensuring a consistent and ambitious skills guarantee, or as the Council likes to call it, and it's one of my favorites, upskilling pathway that is intertwined with a concrete lifelong learning and work-based learning agenda. Renovation or innovation was mentioned. I would name it more in a digital way because I'm an IT engineer. I name it disrupting policy. As technology disrupts social models, disrupts economical models, business models, I think the digital age also disrupts our way to deal with policy making. We have to be more open, work together, the public sector, the trade unions, the companies, why not? And maybe as a social democrat, you may be surprised that I mentioned that companies should be more involved in that, maybe also in financing this. And we have good examples of this in Europe, but not only. But we also have the bad examples. So we have to be careful and find the best solutions so the right skills are delivered and we don't have the 57% marginalized citizen. All together, I think we are on a good way, and I thank the Commission for the hard work on this. I thank all the stakeholders that were involved in drafting this important package, and I'm looking forward to the interesting discussions in the European Parliament, but first of all here, and please don't forget the two questions I asked. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Emilian. I would like now to go to Connie Reuter. Besides working in Solidar, I saw you've been active in the beginning of 80s working with exchanges and young people. And now we are speaking about new agenda and new skills. I know probably you prepare very well for this session, but if you can also reflect on which kind of skills in that time while you were working with young people and which kind of skills today, is something changed over there or not? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. And I have also a problem of my voice. I suppose that, well, we have been in Rome last week. There was a huge demonstration, and it is time for Brexit to see all these people in the street, essentially young people to go for Europe. And they were not coming because the party called for it. They were not coming because the trade unions were involved. They were citizens' initiative. We discussed on citizens' initiative. Citizens took the initiative for the Pulse for Europe. And what we have to do here is to put life into the Pulse of Europe. This is my first thing. Yes, what has changed in the last 30 years? 30 years ago, I was working in the frame of the Franco-German cooperation with the Franco-German Youth Office, which, by the way, still organizes exchanges for 7 million people and has more than 7,000 exchanges every year. So when we speak on formal, non-formal, and informal learning, it is there where it takes place. And started very much to work with young people where the governments and the administration, both in France and Germany, told us that has no interest. These young people, there has no interest for them to do Franco-German youth exchanges because they have no access to the labor market. They only have very low levels of qualifications. At that time, level 5 or level 6, meaning completely school dropouts. So we brought them to Germany and we brought them to France. For sure, they did not come back after 10 days with the knowledge of the other language, but only the experience to dare to leave their home, to dare to leave their suburban area of Paris, to go to north of Germany, or to go from the south of Germany to the north of France, all these intercultural exchanges, I think this is still the same. We speak on soft and hard skills, and we forget for sure that there is an intercultural and a social learning approach. And we forget that this is, in fact, key of success, because it has to do with the development of the evolution and of the individual within the society. And therefore, the challenge is still the same. But for sure, at that time, when we organized youth exchanges, we had to reimburse the travel cost. We had 20,000 French francs with us because there was no credit card, there was nothing. There was no mobile phone where you could tell somebody, we are delayed. So that was a little bit another time, but this is for history. Let's say the challenge is still the same. We have, on one hand, and this was already at that time, we have a certain number of people who get through the formal learning system. They get into a high level of qualification, they have diploma. What they were told by European institutions and administration and others during a long time, you have a high level of qualification, you get a job. What has changed now? The high level of qualification is not a guarantee at all, because there are too many young people who are highly qualified coming from Romania, from Bulgaria, and doing jobs at a level, for example, in Germany, Sweden, or the Netherlands or France, which have nothing to do with their level of qualification. This is a complete waste. Secondly, the question is the mobility of the young people. How do we recognize the skills and competencies? What kind of skills, what kind of competence, where do we recognize it? And in these times, for sure, we speak a lot on the digital agenda, and I think this is a challenge and the opportunity. Because somebody was mentioning just before, when we speak on citizenship, we always speak on citizen, because we think the citizen is in the city, but we forget those in the rural areas. In Italy, you have a north-south divide, but you have also a south-north divide in Sweden, with the distance you have to go on. You have it in Romania, in Greece, everywhere. So the question, the access to education, to the formal side, and the access to learning, to a learning environment, I think this is the second precondition on which we have to work upon, because only if this is guaranteed, and this has to do, then we can discuss on the rest. And this is intrinsically linked, in my understanding, to the question which is the major societal challenge, which is the increasing inequality. And increasing inequality is not only an income inequality. Increasing inequality has also to do to have access to public good, which is education, to have access to qualification and vocational and professional training, to have access to youth exchanges. I think it is good, and one of the success stories of the Union is indeed the Erasmus Plus program. But it needs to be further developed and should not only give the opportunity to travel and to be mobile, because what we have learned at the time at the Franco-German Youth Office where I was working, you need, we called it pedagogical environment and accompanying, because you have learning processes that you need to accompany, and this is indeed the challenge. And the new challenge, indeed, you mentioned it, Silvia, what about the migrants who arrive massively in Italy? I don't know who of you has been in the Palermo harbor or whatever, and you see every day a boat coming in. These are not objects, these are subjects, these are human beings, they have skills and competencies, and they want to get to Europe because they want to make their life. So how do we identify their skills and competencies? How we screen this? How can we get through? And I think this, in this sense, the question, the proposal which is on the table, I think this is indeed going in the right direction, because there is a necessity to invest, and this brings me to my second point. After inequality, it is very much a matter of investment. You have been discussing in the European Parliament the European Fund for Strategic Investment. I remember, well, you were with us, but we were a minority to say, what about social investment? What about investment in infrastructure? And they said, yeah, infrastructure, digital infrastructure, motorways, highways. No, infrastructure means also educational infrastructure and so on. Now the time is changing a little bit, and this idea of getting also this integrated, the question of investment to see more than only in structural investment in highways or digital highways, I think this is something where also we have made a lot of progress. And in my understanding, this is indeed something, the sense in which we have to continue. You have been speaking on the question of disrupting policies. Yes, indeed, I think disrupting policies are important. You have been saying also, Pavel, the question of the cooperation with the business. I think there is not, we are not in a class fight, those who are, but if you look, and look in particular, to what are the success stories of industry. It is not Siemens, it's not BMW, it's not the big brands. SMEs. It is the SMEs and PSMEs. And what have they understood? They have understood that you need an investment in education and training. They have understood that if you want to be innovative on the markets and have new products that you can sell, it is not only to get the best engineers, it also the workers on the working ground, if they are correctly paid, decent work, if they are correctly paid, if this is recognized, they have the self-esteem, and then they're also very much creative. This is often misunderstood because, yeah, you are an engineer, but not everybody is an engineer, but the workers of the workplace in this industry also are very, I think, are very tough and very strong. You look to watch, you certainly want me to say to stop, but so I cannot finish without saying the following. I want to give you a quote. The quote is, Europe has to place at least as much emphasis on the personal fulfillment of its citizens, men and women alike, as it has now to place on economic and monetary issues. That is how Europe will prove that it is not merely a free trade area, but a coherent political whole capable of coming successfully to terms with internationalization instead of being dominated by it. Does anybody in the room remember what it is? Have you heard?
Do you have some gift for somebody who guessed right?
Yeah.
A pen.
Yeah, I'm not.
You have a pen? Somebody remember? Some declaration, maybe? No?
Yeah, I was already here in Brussels, but coming from Paris for my former job. It was the White Book on Teaching and Learning Towards the Learning Society, which was presented in 1996 by the commissioners Edith Cresson and Patrick Flynn. And I only can recommend you that you go on the website of the European Commission and that you read all this, because, let me finish on this, the guidelines for action 20 years ago, what was it? Encourage acquisition of new knowledge, 1996. Secondly, bringing school and the business sector closing together, 21 years ago. Combat exclusion, 21 years ago. Proficiency in 3 community language. Well, with the Brexit, I'm not the one who will say we all have to learn German, but but it would be helpful to have at least the 3 languages, still is a minimum. And last but not least, treat material investment and investment in training on an equal basis. This sums it up, 1996. Let me close by this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is the offer for the pen still over there? Yes. Okay.
It's a
Okay, great. Should we give applause for these nice quotes until the first? Come on, a nice applause. Okay, thank you also for bringing us back for 20 years or more back in the past. Then we go to Charles. Charles, you are working as a research manager in Think Young. What research says about maybe some needed skills, maybe some major trends that we are facing nowadays in Europe? 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll try and keep it short. Thank you for having me. And I'm not sure how many people from the UK are actually here, but I'm one of them. So it's nice to mention the Brexit as much as possible. If I could briefly just talk about digital skills in particular, because I know that's one of the key areas that's being focused on in the coming years. So I think everybody in the room will surely be aware that there's quite a huge skills gap in digital skills in particular. So if you take just some of the more common data for the OECD, Eurostat, and also from some of the Think Young research, I believe it's 10% of adults across the EU 28 who have little to no digital skills. And this can be as simple as using a search engine or having some kind of critical awareness of the internet. So this is quite a drastic figure. But even if you just take the skills slightly bit further, a further 24% are barely able to have the basic level that you need to work in the labour market. So that can be spreadsheets or even word processing documents. So these are both quite drastic figures that we need to deal with as quickly as possible. Going to actually one of the Think Young research projects, we did one on skills mismatch in the science, technology, engineering and mathematics field. And we analysed results from both STEM graduates and current students and non-STEM graduates. And the results are equally quite distressing in terms of how good the STEM graduates are with quite advanced digital skills. So, for example, while as you would expect, they had a much higher level, this is the STEM graduates, of basic computing compared to their non-STEM counterparts. I think it was 70.7%, but let's just call it 70. 70% said that they had little to no coding skills, for example, and this trend was replicated across the board for more advanced digital skills. So I think I'm reiterating the point perhaps a little bit too much, but digital skills in particular is a is a key thing which needs developing. Now, if I could just quickly talk about some of the issues I think, do I have enough time? Doing okay. 3 minutes, perfect. Taking some of the research from Sonia Livingston, who's an academic at the London School of Economics, she talks a lot about the need for a pedagogical process, not just in schools, because that's quite readily apparent across the EU28, but also during work learning, continued professional progression. And I think there's only a few countries which have relatively robust and clear and concise pedagogical work-based learning systems. And these, not only are they not being utilized to the right level, but unfortunately with digital skills as well, they're being used by people who tend to come from a much higher educational background. So in essence, answering the question, are the current policies reaching the people's needs? The needs are the needs, the people who are not in employment, education or training, or they're the people who are currently in employment, but low-level employment where they don't utilize their skills. These are the people who aren't receiving the workplace learning. They're not the ones who are constantly evolving their skills development. So I think if you take that from the people who are currently employed, but also if you think about the people who are not employed, there's still a clear digital divide in many countries in Europe. I mean, we were talking earlier about social divisions across different countries and across Europe in general. Even countries which have, let's say, are slightly more technologically advanced, there's still a massive digital divide. And overcoming that is the key issue. So instead of the amount of supply that there is for work-based learning or MOOCs or informal learning, it's about how much they're accessing the people who really, really need them. And those are the people who are not employed. Those are the people who come from rural areas or perhaps even social backgrounds where they're not accessing laptops or day-to-day using their digital skills in a positive way.
Thank you very much. You even saved 40 seconds for somebody else, but feel free as well to share some other thoughts with us. Thank you very much. We move now to Antonio Ranieri. Is head of Department for Learning and Employability in CEDEFOP. And especially you are working on the skills needs. Is it a need of somebody to gain the skills or somebody to get the right person with the right skills? I always get confused about this. So maybe you can also, besides giving your input, maybe clarify this. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. For the first time after many years, I'm given the possibility to speak in Italian. I will not miss it. So for the interpreters, la domanda che avete messo lì, diciamo, è una domanda molto difficile nel senso che richiede una risposta molto complessa, richiederebbe una risposta molto, molto complessa. Io per prima cosa come CEDEFOP, come agenzia che forse è l'unico organismo che in qualche modo ha il compito di guardare un po' alle politiche europee, quello che accade nei diversi paesi in una maniera diciamo organica all'evoluzione dei paesi, vorrei dire prima di tutto onestamente che negli ultimi 10-15 anni a mio avviso abbiamo assistito a dei considerevoli progressi soprattutto in due direzioni. Nella capacità dei sistemi, ovviamente complessivamente parliamo a livello europeo, dei sistemi di dare delle risposte più diciamo immediate ai bisogni alle domande che arrivano dal mercato del lavoro, dai mercati del lavoro da un lato e dall'altro diciamo nel posizionamento soprattutto della istruzione e formazione professionale che è il nostro campo di interesse nell'ambito della logica, come ricordava Silvia Costa, di un lifelong learning approach. Quindi da questo punto di vista ovviamente ci sono userei il termine inglese in questo caso, delle challenges. Non è un grande segreto che quando i policy maker si riferiscono alle challenges si riferiscono a dei seri problemi molto difficili in realtà da risolvere e mi ha stimolato un po' l'introduzione di Silvia Costa da questo punto di vista. Io vorrei ristabilire 3 fatti, no? Non vorrei diciamo dare delle mie opinioni Poi vi dirò tra pochissimo le opinioni che abbiamo raccolto tra i cittadini europei con una survey che abbiamo fatto lo scorso anno in tutti i paesi europei, interrogando l'intera popolazione europea su una serie di temi legati all'istruzione e formazione professionale. Però intanto 3 fatti che tutti conosciamo, ma li voglio dire in una maniera diversa. Noi abbiamo oggi in Europa circa 10 milioni di persone occupate in più di quanto non ne avessimo nella prima metà degli anni 2000, nel 2003, nel 2004. Nel 2004 erano 205 milioni, adesso ne abbiamo 215 milioni di occupati. Nel frattempo la popolazione europea in età lavorativa si è ridotta, anche per uno scarso afflusso di migrazione che è avvenuta in alcuni anni, nel 2010, 11, 12 abbiamo avuto un crollo dell'immigrazione netta e quindi ci ritroviamo oggi con meno popolazione in età lavorativa. Il risultato è che oggi abbiamo un tasso di occupazione della popolazione in età lavorativa che è a livello del picco massimo che abbiamo raggiunto nel 2007-2008. Allora, se questa è la situazione, e non è che ci soddisfa questa situazione, ci eravamo dati obiettivi più ambiziosi, molto più ambiziosi, la cosa non ci soddisfa, però la domanda che ci dobbiamo fare è: come mai oggi viviamo una situazione del mercato del lavoro che è paragonabile al picco massimo raggiunto nel 2007 e nel 2008 in una maniera drammatica, come se abbiamo appena cominciato a uscire da una crisi del mercato del lavoro tremenda? Ci sono varie spiegazioni, la principale è che in questi anni, questi 7 anni di disgrazia e di crisi, il prodotto principale è una inversione di tendenza e un forte allargamento, come ricordava Silvia Costa, delle diseguaglianze nei mercati del lavoro nazionali tra le diverse componenti della popolazione, delle disparità tra i territori all'interno dei paesi, delle disparità tra i paesi europei. Quello che rende grave la situazione attuale non è il livello di occupazione complessivo, ma ho solo un minuto. Benissimo. Quindi diciamo, da questo punto di vista, io, se questo è il punto di partenza, credo che non ci sia, è abbastanza senso comune, un approccio migliore o diciamo uno strumento più forte della istruzione e formazione professionale per cercare di affrontare questa situazione di diseguaglianze e disparità. E poi dopo vi dirò un'altra cosa che invece deriva da cosa ne pensano gli europei dei loro sistemi di formazione e istruzione professionale.
Thank you very much as well. I think all panelists until now have been mentioning lifelong learning and importance of lifelong learning. So Alan Mallet is coming from the lifelong learning platform. So is there something that somebody in the panel didn't mention about lifelong learning that you will say to us now?
Yes, thank you for the invitation first. Yes, lifelong learning is mentioned increasingly in recent times, and I'm sure it will be even more. Of course, the ways that we live and the ways that we work are changing all the time. There is no more like our parents and grandparents used to live. You go to formal education system, you finish, you get a job, you possibly stay in a job until the rest of your life and you retire. As we all know, now people switch from different paths to others, go to volunteering, back to education, back to employment, very changing both life and career paths. And lifelong learning is very important to address the need for this flexibility in education policy making, how there can be better permeability between sectors and actors. First of all, the Lifelong Learning Platform welcomes the Skills Agenda initiative. It addresses well the need to increase the relevance of our education systems to our societies first, and also our economies. We believe that they should be integrated into comprehensive lifelong learning strategies, which are missing in many countries. Of course, when we talk about labor market needs, they are indeed important. We need a very diverse range of skills and competencies. However, we believe that we need a better shift to life skills, 21st century skills, because what the labor market needs will change and will change in a very, very, very long perspective. What society needs, people who can think critically, creatively, who can solve problems, who can be solidary, feel empathy, that is something that our societies will need in a very, very, very long-term perspective. And that is why the focus should be on that. Even the surveys of big companies, such as IBM that was mentioned, which were undertaken under through many different channels, and many companies replied. And actually, do you know what the first competence that was said that was most needed for employers was actually creativity. So I think this is one of the things that we really need to keep in mind. Secondly, partnerships were already mentioned. Building the future of learning, which is a very difficult task, needs to be a shared responsibility between all stakeholders and decision makers. Ensuring that education is relevant means working with not only educational institutions and politicians, but also including non-formal education providers, employment services, different NGOs, libraries, local communities, and so on, in a vertical and horizontal way. Third, education, very often, all these very shocking facts that we are hearing about levels of skills and so on, yes, education very often replicates what is happening in the society. The increasing inequalities in the society will replicate in our education systems. But if we use equity as a principle in education systems can, to some extent, redress broader socioeconomic inequalities. In order to ensure equity, as it was already mentioned, it is of paramount importance to keep the levels of public investment. When there is no public investment, those who need the most skills and competencies suffer the most. People who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, vulnerable groups, school dropouts, adults who are now outside of formal education systems, people with migrant background, and so on, these are the groups that will suffer the most. The partnership principle that I just mentioned a bit before does not only involve cooperation between different educational sectors and actors, because education cannot be used as a magic wand alone to fix our economies and societies. Education needs to work in cooperation with employment, social justice, and many other policies to ensure synergies and relevance of education systems. But, for example, to address work-family conflicts that many women experience and many other issues. And finally, I would say that is the only way to ensure the humanistic and holistic vision of education and what our societies really need. Education as a public good and human right as set in the Sustainable Development Goal 4 and the Incheon Declaration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good. As you can see, it's 4 o'clock, and the next panel is starting at 4:50. It means we have 45 minutes now for discussion. How the panel will work? First of all, I will pick up 3 interventions per round, so it means you can make a question, you can give the statement, you can ask other people in the panel to give the answer, or you can make a general question. That's the first thing. Panelists, you can as well come back to us if you feel the question that you have a right answer to the question. As well, Commission, feel free to react either to panel or to the people. But before we went there, I want to make one question to you. And it's a very tricky question. The answer to this question is yes or no. So you should choose if your answer is yes or no. The question is following. Matching skills and qualifications with demand and job opportunities is the best way to recover from crisis? I know it's a tricky question. I prepare it in a way that is tricky. If I wanted easy questions, that probably wouldn't be here. So, repeating it again, matching skills and qualifications with demands and job opportunity is the best way to recover from crisis. The people who think the answer is yes, raise up your hand. Some people, yes, we have even 2 people from the commission, some people from the panel, thank you, and some people that says no. So we have yes and no. Can I pick up somebody from yes, and you can tell us in one sentence why you choose yes, like really, yeah, please, you can just stand up, present yourself, and it's very easy, you just press the microphone on your right. Please.
Oui, merci. Je ne me lève pas, mais je me présente. Mon nom c'est Stella Veli, je suis physicien informaticien et je suis citoyenne européenne. Et je n'entre pas dans votre groupe que vous avez énuméré là, parce que je ne suis dans aucune institution et dans aucune NGO ou lobby ou quelque chose comme ça. Alors, il y a un groupe que vous n'avez pas mentionné, hein, par exemple les simples citoyens. Alors, je suis pour non, parce que voilà, je vous donne un exemple. Je suis physicien informaticien, je travaille en informatique, administrateur réseau dans une grande société, je suis très contente et dans un mois, il y a une faillite. Pour moi, c'est absolument... je ne vois pas la relation entre cette question et la crise. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup. And somebody from yes? Somebody from yes? Somebody who likes the statement? Yes, please.
Is it working? Yes.
Hey, it's working.
Hello.
It's working.
I'm Teresa. I'm from the European University Association. Well, it would always be easier if there is yes to some extent and no, right? But I pick no because I think there is a difference between employment and employability. I would perhaps refer to employability in the sense that the Bologna process for higher education has defined it at the very, very beginning of the Bologna process. That must also be somewhere in the end of the 90s. Employability is not only entering into an employment, it's also the ability to first perform well in the workplace, of course, but also the ability to move within the labor market, the ability to be creative, and here we are also addressing this key topic of creativity throughout lifetime, and the ability to create your own job and the ability to push forward the labor market so that, yes, you can develop new skills yourself, you can further perhaps create your own job, etc. So I don't think it's the way the question is phrased here is basically asking us, in a way, if we should be matching skills and qualifications so that everybody enters into employment and then there is no crisis anymore. Something like that. Well, I know you're also, yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay, it's okay. It was made in a way that is not completely clear as well.
So, of course, it's crucial for employment, but most of all, I here, of course, I'm 100% assuming my position that I'm working from and talking from educational point of view, from the education sector point of view. It's very important to have skills for employment, but it's also crucial that we talk about skills for employability, for being able to move around and to fully develop not only as an employable person, but also just as a person.
Thank you very much. So we got 2 new perspectives, one being a citizen, another one being a person, and not only being employed, but also being able in creative way to search for the possible employment. I see some people want to react from the panel. I took a note, but now I'm bringing you back to everything what was said. We got 7 panelists in the beginning, including also opening addresses. What are your first reactions to this? I guess you are taking the notes while we got a lot of interesting input here, and I would like to hear you before I come back and give the floor to the panel again. Yes, but somebody else? I want somebody else, and then I come back to you. Where are the reactions? I don't see the reactions. Yes, we have a commission. Wow. So please, no, we can go with the commission first, and then we pick up the other people. Yeah, okay, let's go with the commission first, and then we have a couple of people in a row. Please.
Ja, vielen Dank für die Gelegenheit, das zu kommentieren. Ohne eine besondere Ordnung hier zu haben in den Kommentaren. Die Krise, auch im Hinblick auf die Frage, ist dramatisch. Herr Reuter hat uns ja auch gesagt, es ist ein echtes Drama, dass hochqualifizierte Jugendliche keinen Job haben oder die falschen Jobs haben, nicht qualifiziert sind. Andererseits in der Krise, diejenigen, die hochqualifiziert sind, sind immer noch besser rausgekommen als die Krise. Es gibt ganz wenige Ausnahmen. Es gibt, glaube ich, ein einziges Land, wo die Leute, die einen Hochschulabschluss haben, vergleichbar rausgekommen sind, wie die den mittleren Abschluss haben. Es gibt das echte Problem, hat Herr Reuter recht. Andererseits, diejenigen, die schwach qualifiziert sind, hat es noch viel härter getroffen als die Hochqualifizierten. Ich will jetzt gar nichts kleinreden, aber auch in dieser Krise hat man gesehen, dass diejenigen, die wirklich den ganz großen Preis bezahlt haben, sind die schwach Qualifizierten und um die muss man sich auch weiter kümmern. Punkt 2, wenn ich in die Zukunft schaue, es wurde auch schon gesagt, es ist wahrscheinlich schwer, sich vorzubereiten. Man wird auch künftige Krisen, wird es alle möglichen Szenarien geben müssen, um denen vorzubeugen. Aber ich denke mal schon, dass man durch die Investitionen in Bildung da einiges vorbereiten kann, damit Menschen sich halt eben auch da hoffentlich anpassen können, wieder in neue Möglichkeiten, Jobs reinkommen und neue Lebensperspektiven finden über Bildung. Also insofern, wenn das vielleicht Bildung kein Allheilmittel ist, ich denke, wenn ich mir die großen Themen Europa heute anschaue, Wettbewerbsfähigkeit, soziale Inklusion, Menschenrechte, gesellschaftliches Engagement, also es gibt ganz wenige Themen, wo ich bin natürlich jetzt ein bisschen voreingenommen als Bildungsmensch, aber ich denke, es gibt ganz wenige Themen, wo Bildung da keine große Rolle haben will. Und vielleicht gerade auch das, was Frau Costa zum Eingang gesagt hat, auch die Frage der Modernisierung, wenn ich jetzt einfach mal die Themen Wettbewerbsfähigkeit und soziale Inklusion nehme. Das ist massiv ein Bildungsthema heutzutage, gleiche Chancengleichheit, gleiche Chancen und Zugang zur Bildung zu haben. Und wir haben nach wie vor massive Probleme. Wir haben ja PISA bekommen im November. Die Ergebnisse waren für Europa ein bisschen enttäuschend, insofern als der Fortschritt nicht so ganz klar war und dass wir trotz der vielen Jahre noch einen sozusagen diesen sozialen Bias in der Bildung haben. Wir haben momentan eine öffentliche Konsultation auch zu dem wie heißt das, Social Pillar of Social Rights. Oh Gott, das war jetzt kompliziert, kann ich nicht sagen. Also die Säule sozialer Rechte und in den ganzen Diskussionen, die wir hatten und Konferenzen kam das natürlich immer wieder, dass auch wirklich dieser Zugang zur Bildung als eine Basis für soziale Gleichheit, für Chancengerechtigkeit und auch Wettbewerbsfähigkeit für alle ganz wichtig sein wird. Wir haben in der Skills-Agenda da 3 Punkte angesprochen. Einerseits werden wir diese Empfehlung, die es gibt zu Schlüsselkompetenzen für alle, uns neu anschauen. Da gibt es eine öffentliche Konsultation, die momentan läuft, bis zum 19. Mai. Ich freue mich sehr, wenn es da Input gäbe für diese öffentliche Konsultation. Und auf der Basis der öffentlichen Konsultation werden wir uns überlegen, welche Schritte wir weiter nehmen. Und das ist wichtig, weil wir dort in den Schlüsselkompetenzen eben Sachen wie Sprache, Mathematik, Naturwissenschaften plus kulturelle Kompetenzen, bürgerschaftliches Engagement auch drin haben. Das Zweite, wie Frau Kostas auch schon gesagt hat, werden wir was Kommissar Navracic angekündigt hat, jetzt auch Ende Mai mit einer Mitteilung kommen, wo wir sagen, wie kann im Bildungsbereich, im Hochschulbereich, aber auch wirklich im Schulbereich, was kann da gemacht werden, um von Bildungsseite einen großen Beitrag zu leisten zu diesen großen Themen. Natürlich ist Bildung ein nationalstaatliches Kompetenz und Thema, aber wir können da in der Zusammenarbeit viel leisten. Und zum Dritten wird die Kommission natürlich Ende 2018 einen Vorschlag für das Erasmus-Plus-Programm vorlegen. Und für mich ist das so ein bisschen dann die Probe aufs Exempel. Ich meine, alle reden über die Bildung, aber letztendlich, wie viel wird man bereit sein, an Mittel für dieses Programm bereitzustellen, wird für mich so die Probe aufs Exempel sein, wie ernst man das meint mit dieser ganzen Debatte. Dankeschön jetzt erstmal schon.
Thank you very much, Michael. maybe before I pick you up, something you mentioned about basic skills. I prepared an extra question, and I didn't forget that pen. So I would like maybe to give that pen for the person that answer the next question, and then I come back to you. That's not this one. It is no, this one is the next one. So according to the latest PAAC study by the OECD, how many Europeans lack basic skills such as reading, writing, and numeracy? So if there is a person, just raise up the hand if you want to get a pen. And you know the right answer. Besides the Commission, because it's coming from your paper. Somebody wants to try. At least you have 33% of chances to get a pen from the VIP person. Yes? Exactly, it's a right. Can you present yourself as well? Can we get a pen? Okay. You see the politicians, sometimes keep the promises, The pen is going over there.
No. Okay. I should.
Thank you very much. Yes, it doesn't probably, if it's Cedefov, it doesn't say vote for me or something like this, probably. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for taking your pen, but I could not resist. There was one person over there, one person here, and then I cut back to Mr. Reuter.
Yes, thank you. I'm Timothy Guillain from EASPD, European Disability Services. I'd like to thank all the panel for the very interesting feedback, and I would agree with all of you. I would, however, like to bring a bit the highlight on the difficult position of people with disabilities. As you might know, there are about 80 million people with disabilities in the EU, and the Eurostat disability statistics highlight that people with disabilities are 10% higher with leaving school early, that was mentioned by Ms. Costa, and are twice as likely to be neither in employment, education, or training. So they are a very important target group to make sure to include. If you look at the first question of the moderator, I would say that the crisis is not only economic. We see with Brexit and with the political situation in France and in other countries that it's also a political crisis, a European crisis. And there, it's not only to look at employment, but at social inclusion in a broader shape. So it's not only at the skills, but as was mentioned, to make sure that the people can be included and can participate in society and don't feel rejected and put aside. In that way, I think it's really important to focus on those vulnerable groups, not only migrants, but also those that fall under the radar, that are not included in statistics. And to come back to the question of Mr. Pavel, do we have enough information? Sometimes, but we need to make sure that we have the information on all the groups, not a very broad statistics of 25% or whichever statistics are in employment, but in which group? What the percentage migrant population, people with disabilities, women, Roma, and to have disaggregated data. And that's the role the Commission can take when you do data, to include also sub-target groups. Indeed, for partnerships in education, it would be a big benefit to have specialized expertise from support services for people with disabilities, but also for migrants, etc. We need the expertise from those that are used to work with specific needs. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Please.
Moi, c'est ce que je pense, c'est que les directives européennes qui sont utilisées maintenant sont très bonnes, sont assez bonnes, et je pense surtout pour les jeunes, et je pense surtout à un programme Erasmus qui sont beaucoup plus développés maintenant. Ma question se réfère, concerne cette directive, mais dans la situation où il y a une Europe à deux vitesses. Vous savez très bien que Madame la chancelière allemande a parlé d'une Europe à deux vitesses, et je suis pour, et je pense que plus tard ou plus tôt, on va y avoir une. Alors, ma question est, comment vous voyez cette directive et politique que vous avez maintenant dans le cas d'une Europe à deux vitesses?
Yes, Sylvia, would you like to intervene now, or first? Okay, Sylvia, and then we go to Connie as well. whatever you agree, it's good for me.
Sylvia, two things, one thing in English and later in German. First of all, to the question that you asked, can you bring it back, please? Because I did not vote. I'm not in favor of abstention, but I did not vote. Because, yeah.
Yes and no.
The yes and no. Yeah, but because I think the right question should be formulated a little bit different. Yeah? And I think investing in education, skills and qualifications with respect to job opportunities would be the best way to recover from crisis. I think that is the formulation where everybody can say yes, because this shows different things. First of all, and I think this is a problem of misunderstanding. People think sometimes that whatever you do now in education has an immediate impact. This is nonsense. Yeah? Every reform in the education system has an impact between 5 and 10 years. And therefore this question of mismatch, what is the mismatch? How can, and you said it, Alain said it already, there is a high-speed development, which is even worse than the two-speed, a high-speed development on the introduction of technologies in any kind of work. Take your ASPD works with disabled or for disabled people. You have no robotic entering. Yeah? That means you have care workers who are roboters. You have seen them probably in Japan. Yeah? And if you see some exhibition ground where you have on health and food and other services here in Europe, wherever you go to these kinds of big exhibitions, you see them, these roboters. Who would have thought that a roboter would take care of people who cannot move anymore? I'm not thinking of people in a wheelchair, but people laying in the bed who cannot turn themselves and so over. So they will replace care workers. Do we anticipate this? What does it mean? Is it just that we abandon the training of care workers, or do we have entirely to rethink it? And sorry to say again, it is never only the question of engineers. And I will not say that is not a problem, but well, we should really understand that this technical resolution will cover all kinds of works. My field of skills and competencies was 6 years of taxi driver. That was the best learning environment one could get. Yeah, but in the future, will there be taxi drivers or lorry drivers? No, it will be automatized, and you only have a surveillance strategy and so on. So how do we anticipate this? Because we do not know when this will enter. We do not know whether it's in 5 years, in 6 years, or in 10 years. And the question is, how do we prepare our educational system? And therefore, I think this always to think we just do it now and then it matches. This is a big misunderstanding. Let me just come back to the representative of the European Commission, and I will speak in my father's language, which is German. Zu der Frage der Hochqualifizierten. Ich kenne 2 Länder besonders gut, Frankreich und Deutschland. Ja, meine Kinder haben beide Staatsangehörigkeiten. Das ist nicht repräsentativ, aber doch. Mit dem Studium, das sie in Deutschland gemacht haben, werden sie in Frankreich arbeitslos. In Frankreich zählt ein Hochschulstudium nichts, es sei denn, sie haben eine Grande École gemacht. Das heißt, dieses Elitesystem, ja, da auf der Ebene brauchen Sie sich keine Sorgen zu machen, da gibt es Durchlässigkeit, da sind Sie sozusagen, ob Sie in die Privatwirtschaft gehen oder in die hohe Verwaltung, sind Sie abgesichert. Aber sozusagen das klassische Hochschulstudium, was die meisten oder viele von uns gemacht haben, ist eben in unterschiedlichen Ländern unterschiedlich anerkannt. Wir hatten vorhin auch die Diskussion in Momschil über die Frage von dualen Bildungssystemen. Das ist das Gleiche. Duales Bildungssystem funktioniert in einigen Ländern. Das heißt auf Englisch In-Work-Training manchmal. Und das funktioniert immer nur dann, wenn es auch Arbeit gibt. Und es hat eine lange Tradition. Das heißt, die Frage von Durchlässigkeit, und Silvia Costa hat es gesagt, der soziale Aufzug, ja, das ist eigentlich das, woran wir arbeiten müssen. Und der betrifft sowohl die Hochqualifizierten als auch die Niederqualifizierten. Wobei Sie natürlich vollkommen recht haben, dass das große Problem ist in die Unterqualifizierten, weil das, was wir als diejenigen, die am weitesten vom Arbeitsmarkt entfernt sind, sind diejenigen, die die größten Schwierigkeiten zur Reintegration haben. Und da ist unser Plädoyer, dass gerade für die besonders investiert werden muss. Ja? Das Business Privatwirtschaft wird sich immer für Hochqualifizierte interessieren. Aber für diejenigen, die aus den Schulsystemen rausgefallen sind und anderen, brauchen wir nicht nur ein Auffangbecken zu sozialer Betreuung, sondern brauchen wir soziale Qualifizierungsmaßnahmen. Und gerade die ganze sozialarbeiterische Komponente in der Begleitung von Langzeitarbeitslosen, nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern auch in vielen anderen Ländern, auch die sozialarbeiterische Komponente und sozialpädagogische Komponente von Begleitung von Migrantinnen und Migranten. Das ist etwas, wo Sie denke ich, wo wir einfach das Problem haben, dass diese Investition einfach noch unterschätzt wird, weil ohne die kommen sie auch nicht in den Arbeitsmarkt hinein. Deswegen sage ich immer, Mismatch ist das eine und das andere ist eben die Frage, wie sehen wir Veränderungen, die Evolution von Arbeitsmarkt, ja, und Zugängen von Arbeitsmarkt für unterschiedliche Levels. Ich lasse es dann erstmal hier.
Grazie, condivido molto, scusate, sempre peggio. Intanto voglio dire soltanto, scusate, una cosa pazzesca, che saluto due colleghi che sono qui fin da un bel po', sono qui. Prima il collega Morgano che ho dovuto lasciarci, il collega Nekov che tra l'altro è correlatore nella Commissione Cultura dell'agenda delle skills, quindi avranno delle cose da dire, e Julie Ward. Tra l'altro Julie Ward sui temi dell'inclusione, in particolare dei disabili e anche dell'inclusione in generale attraverso l'educazione, è molto attenta e ha fatto anche un bellissimo rapporto. Per rispondere alla sua domanda sulla questione, lei parlava di direttive, in realtà sono regolamenti di programmi multiannuali, cioè nel campo dell'educazione solo nella formazione professionale sulle qualifiche ci sono direttive, nel campo dell'educazione in generale si tratta, diciamo, di un soft power dell'Unione Europea, nel senso che si danno naturalmente indirizzi, c'è un metodo aperto di coordinamento, ma le policies non sono oggetto di diciamo, azione legislativa, mentre quello che lei diceva, le parlava dei programmi rispetto alla famosa Europa delle due velocità. Ora io vorrei dire la mia personale opinione su questo punto. Io penso che la parola due velocità sia sbagliato come termine. Io penso che la proposta che è venuta, che è stata condivisa anche nella dichiarazione di Roma la settimana scorsa, come riferimento, era quello di noi siamo per un'unica Europa e per un'unione politica la più forte possibile, anche politicamente, non soltanto dal punto di vista dell'economico, e non crediamo certamente che l'Europa sia soltanto uno spazio di libero mercato, vogliamo una dimensione anche politica e sociale. Non a caso abbiamo proposto il pillar sociale proprio con un'iniziativa del gruppo SD. Cosa diversa è invece dire che di fronte a una situazione che purtroppo abbiamo visto per tante materie rischia di essere paralizzata o, come dire, con dei paesi che hanno bloccato in qualche modo un processo di maggiore integrazione, deve essere consentito che alcuni paesi, non come un club chiuso, ma come un'opzione aperta, possano provare, possono mettersi in una direzione di una maggiore integrazione, ovvero su alcune tematiche chi si sente già pronto può cominciare a fare, diciamo, delle azioni di maggiore integrazione. Quindi non la chiamerei a più velocità, ma la chiamerei con la cooperazione rafforzata che è prevista dai trattati, avere delle forme di cooperazione rafforzata su alcune tematiche. Io faccio solo un esempio di grande frustrazione del Parlamento. Noi siamo stati, come gruppo soprattutto, ma anche come Parlamento, abbiamo chiesto con forza una politica europea sull'immigrazione, che riguarda anche l'educazione. Abbiamo spinto la Commissione ad un'agenda che ha fatto, bisogna riconoscerlo, Juncker, che prevedeva una serie di questioni, compreso l'asilo europeo, compresa la distribuzione delle quote di fronte all'emergenza umanitaria fra i vari paesi, insomma una concezione di solidarietà prevista nei trattati, fra l'altro. E ci siamo trovati di fronte al fatto che il blocco di alcuni paesi ha reso non praticabile una decisione che era stata presa a maggioranza nel Consiglio. Ecco, io credo che questo non sia più tollerabile. In Europa noi dobbiamo fare in modo che, primo, le decisioni che si prendono a maggioranza siano impegnative per tutti, e secondo, che chi non ritiene di procedere non possa fermare. Perché guardate, in politica se ci si ferma si torna indietro, non ci si ferma mai. Quindi io penso che questa sia la risposta. Per quanto riguarda i programmi, è chiaro che il programma Erasmus, piuttosto che gli altri programmi pluriennali, sono programmi di tutta l'Unione Europea e restano tali, quindi non c'è una preoccupazione su questo. E credo che il punto vero però sia quello di dire che accanto, e riprendo quanto diceva la Commissione, accanto ai programmi pluriennali che noi vorremmo molto rifinanziare maggiormente, noi siamo quest'anno all'esame della prima metà del settennio, insomma stiamo a traguardare cosa succederà nella seconda parte, e dopo il 2020 la Commissione farà una valutazione dei programmi. Noi abbiamo dato già degli indirizzi come Parlamento e poi ci sarà la nuova programmazione. Io credo che il Parlamento saremo per aumentare moltissimo queste risorse anche se abbiamo fatto un passo avanti con Erasmus, ma non basta, e anche del dedicare alla formazione e all'educazione una quota significativa del Fondo Sociale Europeo, più risorse alla ricerca. Insomma, sono questi gli strumenti più importanti che abbiamo in mano e dobbiamo sicuramente rifinanziarli. Noi poniamo anche un'altra questione, chiudo, non parlo più, che non ci piace che il piano straordinario di investimenti strategici, il famoso piano Juncker degli investimenti, vada troppo sulle infrastrutture materiali e pochissimo sulle risorse umane. Questa, secondo me, è la sfida che abbiamo davanti, l'abbiamo posta per la cultura, per l'educazione. Credo che questo sia una delle più importanti, diciamo, prospettive nella quale dobbiamo lavorare. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Ms. Costa. Just short update on time. We still have 20 minutes for this panel. You are not raising up your hands so much, but don't worry, there's another panel, so you can use your right to speak. I got 4 persons in a row, so first we go to Mr. Pavel. So let's try to, for the remaining people for this panel, to keep it briefly. Yes, please. You need to leave. Okay, let's make an exception. Please, Mr. Bird. Yes.
Sorry, I really want to be here for the whole debate, but I have to go and meet somebody, and I'll try and come back afterwards. I have, obviously, some things to say. First of all, I just came from the Youth Intergroup, and they are having a very fantastic meeting with one of our colleagues, Victor Negrescu, about recognising study abroad. So I just wanted to draw your attention to this. And it's not just about the Erasmus Plus program. This is about recognising study all over the world, study in Latin America, for example. And I think his initiative and the Youth Intergroup's initiative is a very important initiative. So please follow them. They have a hashtag, which is Recognise Study Abroad. You can find out about that conversation. And if you're one of my fellow MEPs here in the room, I'd urge you to sign up to this. It's a very good initiative. Young people, let's talk about young people with talent and degrees. I'm not sure that young people with talent and degrees didn't suffer from the crisis. Right? I worked in the arts and the creative and cultural industries before I was elected, and many young people with creative degrees are doing very menial work or not even working. So let's just put that one to bed, okay? And it really worries me, this question, matching skills and qualifications with demand and job opportunities. Because what kind of jobs? You know, 0 hours contracts? Is that what we want our bright and best to do? No way. So I want to challenge this, because I don't want jobs at any cost. I don't want our brightest and best creative graduates or science graduates to be working in rubbish jobs just because we have to somehow pander to the market and have, you know, and make sure that the big corporations have all the profits. So let's be really clear about that. If we talk for a little more about young people who are excluded, young people maybe with disabilities, but also people in marginalised communities, refugees. These young people are often the most entrepreneurial people in our communities, and it's because they've had to, in many ways, overcome the most difficult challenges. So what we have to do is to find ways to include these people, because they come to us already having overcome enormous barriers. Now, and I speak from experience because I worked running an organisation that supported people with disabilities. And we have in our communities people who've experienced these challenges already demonstrating incredible fortitude and what I would say is entrepreneurial spirit. But when we talk about enterprise and entrepreneurs in this house, I always want to put the word social in front of it, right? Because just to talk about enterprise says that, again, we can have business at any cost. But if you talk about social enterprise, you talk about giving back to your community, you talk about having social responsibility. And I think that is a way for us to have this broader view about skills. I'm learning a new concept, and I want to share it with everybody with whom I speak. So those of you who've heard me speak this week and in previous weeks will have heard me talk about occupational literacy. I would like us to investigate and interrogate what this means. Occupational literacy is really about quality time. So when we're working, when we're experiencing leisure time, when we're learning, when we're underemployed, whatever we're doing, do we understand about occupational literacy? And I think that is something that we all need to learn about that much more, and we need to bring that into our policy, because I think if we understand about occupational literacy and we understand that everything that we do must be quality, then I think we will be getting policies right for people from different walks of life, from different socio-economic backgrounds, from people coming to us with different challenges. So it's really good today to see that the lifelong learning agenda people are here, and maybe I won't be in the session that they're in, but I know that they're here, and I know...
They are.
Yeah, they're here. Yes, that's right, because we were looking at each other. So that's, again, a very important agenda for me, that we continue to have this drive, this platform, this commitment to lifelong learning. And finally, just to talk about creative skills, okay? Creative skills are transferable skills. Creative education does not just belong in a silo about arts degrees for art's sake. Creative and cultural skills make everybody more able to deliver for the jobs of the future. Okay, and on that I have to go, okay, but I will come back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Marco, can I
am here. Sorry, I just have to say, we cannot pass today without saying what is happening to my country, which has made the most stupid mistake ever, right? Brexit, my Prime Minister does not speak for me when she does what she does today, okay? And we have to continue, right, to fight for the true values, which I believe most British people, if they understood the work we are doing here in the Parliament as progressives, would not have voted for the stupid thing which is happening today back home.
Julie, we express our solidarity, and in the beginning we recall this sadness that we have for these events. Sorry, Marco, just to welcome two other colleagues that are here. Jutta Steinruck, and she will be the coordinator of the panel, the next panel, and Brando Benifei. Thank you.
Exactly. So when we're speaking about skills, we should also invent a skill how to be in two sessions. That would be maybe useful for you to be in the in the two places and speak about these important things. Thank you for your intervention as well. Yes, Mr. Pavel, and then we go to the Commission and to you as well.
I remembered when discussing with you together a quote from this morning. What was very interesting: we are born curious, creative, and willing to learn and discover. We need to find a solution that this does not disappear or die in school. It's shocked, but I think it shows some problems in the educational system that the member states are sometimes not willing to change or to adapt to reality. And I will switch shortly to German to answer to my colleague, Mr. Reuter. Also, erstens ist es mir wirklich nicht durch den Kopf gekommen, dass nur Ingenieure auf den Markt kommen müssen. Aber es ist nun mal die Wahrheit, dass in dieser Richtung sehr viele Fähigkeiten fehlen und dass wir da uns wirklich darum sorgen, dass diese vielleicht 800.000 Arbeitsplätze bis 2020 dann auch besetzt werden können und die notwendigen Fähigkeiten auch den Leuten zugesendet werden. Wir haben viel geredet über access, flexibility. And I will switch to English because my notes were in English. So we have to think about teachers that have scouting skills to guide the young pupils to the right direction, what they really are talented in, to guide them after a certain period. So I think this is also a problem that we have now, that teachers don't have these scouting skills anymore, like the years when, for example, I went to school and they said, you're not good in literature, you're not good in poetry, you're good in engineering, in STEM science.
Thank you very much. We go to Mr. Nekov now, and then the Commission.
Hey everybody, I just want to take the floor to raise one question to Connie. How can we encourage the business, especially in Bulgaria, to invest in work-based learning, so-called dual system, beyond EU investment? Because we spoke about that today, that if there is some EU investment, the processes in Bulgaria going very well, but afterwards everything stopped. So could you give some good practices from Germany that we can implement in Bulgaria as well?
Mm-hmm. Okay, you can keep also the question for you, and maybe we go to Commission now, and then we can come back to the panel for the end. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I will also use my mother tongue, Italian. Riallacciandomi alla domanda sull'Europa a due velocità e alla risposta della parlamentare Costa, vorrei dare un esempio concreto di cosa si potrebbe fare nel settore delle competenze, e cioè il riconoscimento. Il riconoscimento delle qualifiche, dei diplomi è stato sollevato diverse volte. Ci potrebbe essere, come già c'è tra alcuni Stati membri, in particolare i Paesi Bassi e il Belgio, una coalizione di intenti per il riconoscimento reciproco dei diplomi tra alcuni Stati membri, per esempio. Perché ancora questo non è attuato nella pratica. Gli Stati membri ovviamente sono competenti per le qualifiche, per l'educazione in generale, e quindi questo potrebbe essere un esempio pratico di qualcosa che potrebbe facilitare la mobilità e quindi degli studenti. Quindi questo è un esempio molto pratico. Ritornando ai commenti iniziali sulla skills agenda, cioè l'agenda delle competenze, vorrei sottolineare che questo documento, questa iniziativa è stato proprio un invito a lavorare insieme tra diversi attori, e siamo molto felici che il Parlamento europeo in questa occasione e in altre abbia una commissione congiunta, uno sforzo congiunto tra Commissione Cultura e Educazione e Commissione Impiego. Questo è fondamentale, ma appunto sul campo diversi attori debbono cooperare, non solo le imprese, ma le istituzioni di istruzione, formazione, Stati membri, autorità, cioè è uno sforzo collettivo, ed è questo che l'agenda per le competenze vuole dire e vuole lanciare come iniziativa. E un'ultima cosa, il progetto di rapporto di relazione del Parlamento è un forte richiamo agli Stati membri, e la Commissione apprezza veramente questo invito agli Stati membri ad agire. Questa è una cosa estremamente importante, perché gli Stati membri in questo settore hanno la competenza, e dunque ringraziamo il Parlamento per questo sostegno e questo invito.
Thank you very much. We pick up there were two persons. You were the first one. We pick up two people from the crowd, and then we can come back to the panel. Please.
So I'm from Bulgaria. I would like only to ask the persons from Germany, because we have a community which needs really vocational education and training, but it is a little bit difficult to guarantee the quality attending German vocational schools, different courses, etc. Do you think it would be more appropriate to offer, for example, Bulgarian education institutions to offer such kind of training to Bulgarians in Germany? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We pick up another person over there. Please.
Shall I?
Just speak.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Desislava Yaneva. I came from Bulgaria. I represent National Youth Forum. We have about 110,000 young people in Bulgaria. I have some notes for the people who speak before me, so just will follow. Yes, my answer to this question definitely is yes. The labor market is the one that have to define the needs. So the education system will have to follow the needs of the labor market, but the education system have to be changed. It have to be more practically oriented, and it have to have changes about the methodology of the teaching. When we want to have quality employment, we have to talk about internal motivation. What I haven't heard by now in this discussion is that nobody mentioned that the career and professional orientation, because when one person is studying something and starts working it, he is willing to do it only if there is internal motivation to do what he is doing. So I think that the measures have to be complex, but we have to talk about professional orientation because, as Ms. Costa started in the beginning, all the researches are telling us that the human resource is on the first place. So I think what we have to do is to ask people while they are at school, or if we have missed this moment when they're in the university, or finally when they are unemployed people, how to activate them, but to take their needs and internal motivation, what would they like to do. Yes, of course, the suggestions are very constructive to have this, how was mentioned, occupational literacy. Yes, very nice idea. Of course, we have to increase the people who are exiting the educational system, but once again, I would like to point out that the professional and career orientation is something that we have to start speaking about and working on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need to comment on this because I'm coming from the country that's not in EU, and our Prime Minister always say whenever he needs to sort out some problem, he say, "Oh, I go to Germany because they did it, they do very well." And now I hear several questions. Okay, but in Germany they did it well. So maybe somebody, either some of you comment, is it perfect over there, or at least on this specific issue? Of course, I'm kidding a little bit, but please take a floor.
Ja, guten Tag. Ich übernehme von Conny Reuter die Antwort, weil ich vor meiner politischen Zeit viele Jahre Leiterin Aus- und Weiterbildung und Personalentwicklung in deutschen Großunternehmen war und einen guten Einblick in das System der deutschen dualen Ausbildung haben. Das ist mehr als irgendjemand, der Theorie vermittelt, die Schule, und irgendjemand, der Praxis vermittelt. Hinter der dualen Ausbildung in Deutschland steckt ein System an Gesetzgebung, wirklich ein gesamtes, breites System an Gesetzgebung. Die Ausbildungsinhalte werden durch die Sozialpartner gemeinsam festgelegt in den einzelnen Ausbildungsberufen. Was ganz wichtig ist, ist die Bereitschaft von Unternehmen, weil die Unternehmen müssen in den praktischen Teil der Berufsausbildung investieren. Sie müssen bereit sein, junge Menschen auszubilden, Ausbilder zur Verfügung stellen und die Rahmenbedingungen zu schaffen, während die öffentliche Hand die schulische Ausbildung zur Verfügung stellt. Ich habe in Frankreich vor einigen Jahren eine Diskussion geführt, da sagt mir ein Unternehmen, ja, warum soll ich Geld investieren in eine Berufsausbildung, wenn derjenige oder diejenige nach Ende der Ausbildung zu einem anderen Unternehmen wechselt. Bei uns in Deutschland stellt sich die Frage nicht, weil dafür kommt ein ausgebildeter Mensch von einem anderen Unternehmen. Bei uns ist da ja irgendwie eine unausgesprochene Solidarität. Es geht auch weiter. Es ist viel ehrenamtliches Engagement in der Ausbildung. Die lokalen Handwerkskammern, die Industrie- und Handelskammer und die Handwerkskammer organisieren den Ablauf, den bürokratischen Ablauf rund um die Ausbildung, aber auch die Prüfungen. Und Ich weiß nicht, wie viele Tausende von ehrenamtlichen Prüfern die praktischen Prüfungen in Deutschland in den Berufen tatsächlich auch abnehmen. Also es ist mehr als die duale Ausbildung, das ist ein Riesenkonstrukt. Ich muss zugeben, Deutschland wird für die tolle duale Ausbildung gelobt. Tatsächlich haben wir auch unter Wettbewerbsdruck oder warum auch immer eine zurückgehende Verantwortung von Unternehmen, die bereit sind, in die duale Ausbildung zu investieren. Das ist die Realität. Das heutige Exportmodell duale Ausbildung aus Deutschland in andere europäische Länder wird in Deutschland wohl auch inzwischen mehr als Last betrachtet. Zum Glück nicht von allen Unternehmen, aber wir haben zurückgehende Zahlen.
Thank you very much. I guess it gives the answers to some. I'm coming back to the panel. We have the last 8-9 minutes. I saw first Mr. Ranieri and then some other hands. So let's give the floor for the short last remarks for this panel. Please, Ranieri.
Sì, solo ho accumulato varie cose.
A lot of questions, yeah.
Diciamo, una piccola la voglio dire rispondendo con una domanda a quel yes or no. Se qualcuno pensa che la crisi economica è stata generata da un problema di skill mismatch nel labor market, che è già la risposta, diciamo, della cosa. Ovviamente la migliore cosa che possiamo fare noi, guardando al sistema dell'istruzione e formazione professionale, è investire, diciamo, e migliorare il sistema dell'istruzione e formazione professionale, guardando, come ricordava il collega, a lungo periodo, non pensando che il work-based learning e l'apprendistato sono soluzioni per risolvere i problemi del mercato del lavoro di oggi o di domani, ma pensando che questo è un ottimo investimento anche dal punto di vista, e questo ci tengo a dirlo perché è un grande paradosso, anche dal punto di vista degli effetti di breve periodo sulla domanda aggregata macroeconomica. È evidente che l'impatto della spesa in formazione e istruzione, che è fatta di salari, stipendi e così via, è molto maggiore dell'impatto della spesa in infrastrutture, che in gran parte è fatto di importazioni, di tecnologie, materie prime, eccetera. Quindi proprio anche volendola guardare dal punto di vista puramente keynesiano dell'impatto macroeconomico. L'ultima cosa che ha a che fare con gli investimenti e che dobbiamo essere pronti anche al fatto che esiste una cosa che gli economisti chiamano trade-off, e cioè che se si investe da una parte non si può investire dall'altra, e questa forse in un ambiente, diciamo, un po' politico è la cosa più importante da ricordare. Dalla nostra survey la maggior parte delle persone intervistate dicono che l'investimento in formazione e istruzione professionale non solo è importante, ma se dovessero scegliere come cittadini metterebbero più soldi sull'istruzione e formazione professionale, che attualmente, diciamo, non danno rispetto all'istruzione generale, per dire che, diciamo così, ci sono delle responsabilità nel fare delle scelte, e questo, diciamo, è un po' un compito anche vostro.
Thank you very much. Please.
Yeah, just to conclude, basing it on some previous interventions and the famous question, I would also like to bring some personal experience. I come originally from Croatia, and I finished my studies 3 years ago. Many of my friends, really close friends, are still in the middle of their studies. We studied at the same time, on the same generation, and why they still study is to keep their student rights so that they can work in student jobs. So, is this a problem that we have today, a problem of our education systems only, or some broader problems that we have in this system? I'm wondering. As Connie said, reforms in education take a very long time. Even PISA was mentioned. Some of the countries that perform the best in PISA, for example, some Southeast Asian countries like Singapore, their reforms of education systems take minimum 10 years. We cannot anticipate what the labor market will need in 2 or 5 or 10 or let alone more years, because that is not possible. We need to focus on how to contribute to our societies, because there are obviously some problems. And also, I have to say, yes, high skills are very important, upskilling, of course. But for what reason? I mean, let's be objective. Young people were never as educated as today, but unemployment rates are worse than in a long time. So is that a problem of education? And I'm not by this, I'm not implying that we shouldn't improve education and make it more relevant, but let's make it relevant for our societies.
Thank you. Mr. Reuter?
Yeah, well, lifelong learning, I think this is occupational literacy is part of lifelong learning, but it is a nice, for the terminology, it's very nice, and I think where we all can agree that skills and competencies is more than hard skills. It's very much also what we call the soft skills, the intercultural, the language skills. And this is, I think, this educational approach or pedagogical approach we have to defend. When it's just a remark, a personal one, sometimes interpreters are not very happy that I'm speaking English, but if I'm speaking German, happens exactly what happens here. I'm the German. I don't want to be the German because I'm working for a European network. So I can say things on Germany, but we have 65 members in 25 countries, and there is even a country which are a little bit better than my own country, which is France, also in a sense. And if you compare France and Germany when it comes to professional and vocational training, we had in the Franco-German cooperation, we had this apprenticeship, we had the vocational and professional training centers. That was always on the longer period than in France. In France, you had seminars on 6 weeks. That was professional integration. The Germans were laughing about it because it was not serious. And therefore, you see, it is really a matter of investment. And indeed, it is a difference whether you work for a big company who has demands in human resources, or whether you work for a small or medium enterprise, or whether you work for a social enterprise, for example, caregivers and so on, which is a complete different mark. But let me say this, on the tradition on the dual system, there is also a historical dimension. In Germany, we called it at the time, 300, 400 years ago, Gilden. How do you translate Gilden? It's the professional corporation, the millers, the shoemakers, and so on. And they organize the professional training. And this is where the history also comes from. And this is why there is a societal recognition, not only the recognition of the labor market. Therefore, just number one, for those who are interested, we have published as Solidar, together with the European Network of Vocational and Professional Training Centers, a study on the validity of the German dual system and the transferability. It is 3 years old, but it is still very valid, can bring it to you. And to conclude, just let me repeat what I said to your question. The right question should be investing in education, skills and qualifications by taking into consideration, not to say it's the labor market's need today, no, by taking into consideration the needs of the labor market and the development of societies, technological is the best way to recover from crisis and to invest in the future. That is what we call, in a very German word, leitmotif, and I think this is where we should conclude on.
Thank you very much. Silvia?
You have to reply or not? No. We can conclude because we are now at the same. Allora, scusate, solo una considerazione. Rispondendo anch'io a questa domanda, dico che, rovesciando questa domanda, direi che i paesi che anche durante la crisi hanno continuato a investire nell'educazione e nella formazione, hanno superato meglio, l'hanno affrontata meglio, ci sono minori disuguaglianze, anche se abbiamo sentito che queste purtroppo sono anch'esse presenti anche in paesi forti, e comunque io ritengo che, per esempio, quando si parla anche di mercato del lavoro, l'imprenditore con più formazione riconosce il bisogno di personale con delle qualità e delle competenze, quindi, come dire, ha un rapporto anche con la persona che lavora diverso e sa perfettamente connettere di più diciamo, la competitività dell'impresa, il benessere della persona, del lavoratore e anche la sua formazione. Quindi io credo che questo circuito virtuoso sia sicuramente sempre più centrale. Seconda questione, credo interessante la proposta che la cooperazione rafforzata potrebbe accelerare in qualche modo, adesso un po' una best practice per il riconoscimento dei titoli, anche se mi auguro che questo processo vada avanti comunque. E terza cosa, credo che le esperienze della dual education, noi abbiamo fatto una ricerca, presentato una ricerca tempo fa nella Commissione Cultura che ha ricondotto in Europa 4 modelli diversi di dual education, certamente quella tedesca e austriaca, eccetera, quella così storicamente la più importante e ha anche un grande impatto. Ci sono delle esperienze diverse, a seconda se è più orientato verso il lavoro o verso l'istruzione, no? Penso per esempio al mio paese che è più indietro su questo, ma che ha dato vita a delle nuove approcci di paternariato, perché come dice Jutta va creato un ambiente non soltanto dentro l'impresa, ma penso agli istituti tecnici superiori si chiamano, che sono un tentativo interessante perché mettono insieme istituti professionali tecnici, università e imprese e anche la ricerca, e con un grande investimento anche nell'ambito locale. Questo perché porta quelle competenze che oggi mancano, che sono post istruzione superiore, ma non accademiche, non solo teoriche. Questo è il tema che credo sia importante fare, ma con anche delle passerelle, per poter passare da uno stadio all'altro. Quindi non una rigidità, o lì, no? o formazione professionale tutta la vita, o istruzione alta, ma la possibilità di passare nei vari campi. Ultima cosa, raccomando anch'io, ma sarà sicuramente il secondo panel che ne parlerà, per noi è molto importante l'agenda per le skills, e ribadisco che al centro ci deve essere comunque una consapevolezza che va messa insieme, per questo abbiamo voluto fare insieme EMPL e cultura la trattazione di questo tema. Abbiamo chiesto che 2 commissari lavorino insieme, le DG, perché questo è un valore aggiunto, altrimenti il rischio è, lo dico con franchezza, di pensare che di qua c'è l'istruzione che è, come dire, indifferente al ricaduto occupazionale, e di là c'è soltanto un respiro un po' corto delle skills on the job. Noi dobbiamo mettere insieme la filiera nella prospettiva del lifelong learning. E ultima cosa, bene che ci siano quelle 2 priorità che vorrei accelerare le presentazioni delle proposte, quella sui migranti, la riconoscibilità delle competenze dei migranti, a cui abbiamo dedicato anche un incontro, e quella anche dell'apprendistato in alta formazione, e la nuova linea della Erasmus Pro per l'apprendistato, la coalizione per l'apprendistato anche in alta formazione, credo che sia una delle prospettive nelle quali lavorare. Io ringrazio tutti i panelist, ringrazio molto Marcus, penso che adesso dobbiamo dare il cambio ai nostri amici e colleghi, e grazie veramente per la vostra attenzione.
Okay, thank you very much for the first panel. Should we give an applause for the first panel? And I would kindly invite people and our speakers for the second panel. We are not making any break. Don't leave the room. We are just going for the next panel in maximum 30 seconds. Let's say 45 seconds. Maybe it's more real goal. She's taking part in the second.
Yes, but she's the last speaker. But we need to leave earlier.
Hey, Julia's here.
Yeah, but we need to leave
Earlier.
Do you think it's possible for
After opening remarks, she can speak, I guess. Or after. What time you need to leave? Okay. No, we will make after 2 MEPs. She will speak. No problem. Okay. Do we have all panelists over there? Okay, there are some good things. I need to emphasize some good things. I know it's a very long session of 3.5 hours, but if you already survived for 2 hours, there is only 1.5 hours. So I'm really happy we are still having almost the same number of people in the room. Hello? Almost the same number of people in the room, and I'm happy. So it means that discussion is interesting for you. But just to remind you another thing, not many of you took the floor in the first panel, so really take the floor, engage, make the questions for the panelists. They are here for you as well to share some experiences and expertise. Just to remind you also about another thing, as you can see on each slide, there is a hashtag. So let's try to increase the outreach of this session outside of the European Parliament. So tweet something, share some findings, something was interesting for you during the first session. Don't make selfies, that's not allowed in the European Parliament. So the next quote First, I will introduce the quote and also then the panelists. The quote, it says, access to the learning and training opportunities must be a right for everyone at every stage of life so that they can acquire transversal skills such as numeracy, digital and medical and media literacy, critical thinking, social skills, and relevant life skills. So that brings us to the question for the following panel, that is having a title, towards a real skills guarantee for all. Who are the people on the panel? First of all, we have a member of European Parliament, Jutta Steinberg from Germany, and did I pronounce it very well? If not, correct me later on. She's a rapporteur on a number of digital skills files, as we had a chance to have a small intervention from her as well in the first panel. Then as well we have Momchil Nenkov, who is Nekov from Bulgaria. He is a co-rapporteur for the New Skills Agenda for Europe. Then we have Brando Benefei, is coming from Italy, and he's a co-chair of the Youth Intergroup, but as well working on the Youth Guarantee and Youth Employment Initiative. Then we have some other people as well. We have Tom Vriens from Belgium, chair of the ETUC Youth Committee. Nice to have people from Belgium in Belgium. Thank you very much for coming. Lea Meister is coming from European Students' Union ESU. She's a president over there. Therese Zhang is from the European University Association, deputy director of the Higher Education Policy Unit. And of course, we have as well Yulia Simeonova from Bulgaria. She is executive secretary of Confederation of Independent Trade Unions in Bulgaria. So welcome as well for the panel. I pass floor to Jutta to give us introductory speech or address, whatever you like it.
Ja, vielen herzlichen Dank und guten Tag. Ich spreche zwar Deutsch, aber ich bin 100% Europäerin. Es ist nur einfacher, in der Muttersprache zu reden und erhält auch die Arbeitsplätze unserer Übersetzerinnen und Übersetzer, und wir reden dann auch etwas richtiger, wenn es ins Detail geht. Ich will zunächst mal den Kolleginnen und Kollegen des Kulturausschusses für die gute Zusammenarbeit danken, weil es ist genau bei diesen Themen, die wir heute hier in der Konferenz diskutieren, wichtig, dass wir gemeinsam Bildung von Anfang an bis Bildung und den Arbeitsmarkt, die Arbeitsplätze und den Arbeitsmarkt betrachten. Deswegen finde ich es sehr wichtig, dass wir nicht so nebeneinander her diskutieren, sondern tatsächlich unser Wissen, unsere Arbeit verzahnen und dass die Kommission das auch so macht. Wir haben in der vergangenen Woche in einer gemeinsamen Ausschusssitzung zum Europass-Bericht unsere Anforderungen und auch unsere in einer gemeinsamen Ausschusssitzung einmal zum Europapass und für die Anforderungen für die neue europäische Agenda für Kompetenzen uns ausgetauscht. Immerhin 70 Millionen Bürgerinnen und Bürger in Europa haben Schwierigkeiten beim Lesen oder Schreiben. Also wir reden nicht nur über digitale Skills, sondern auch über Basic Skills, die wir nicht vergessen werden. Und noch mehr Menschen haben grundlegende Defizite beim Rechnen und beim Umgang mit digitalen Geräten. Ich bin kein Spezialist im Digitalen, wenn ich mein iPhone wischen kann und anschalten kann und irgendwelche Spiele machen, sondern es fehlt ja vielfach auch ein tieferlegendes Grundverständnis für diese Geräte. Also Kindern einfach ein iPad in der Schule in die Hand zu geben, schont den Rücken, weil sie die Bücher nicht mehr tragen müssen. Aber ob wir sie tatsächlich dann zu digitalen Spezialisten machen, das ist die andere Frage. Und all diese Defizite sind Armutsfallen. Der Wandel der Arbeitswelt macht es notwendig, dass wir unsere Bürgerinnen und Bürger besser vorbereiten. Und davon, muss ich sagen, lese ich in der Europäischen Agenda für Kompetenzen von der Kommission zu wenig. Einst erworbenes Wissen und Kompetenzen im Berufsleben haben immer kürzere Haltbarkeitszeiten. Und wir können in der Europäischen Union, im europäischen Binnenmarkt, der ja viel auch wirtschaftlich diskutiert wird, nur unsere Wettbewerbsfähigkeit beibehalten und auch die Europa 2020-Ziele nur erreichen, wenn wir in der Bildung besser werden. Alle gemeinsam, jeder und jeder einzelne von uns in Europa. Und deshalb gilt, Bildung und Weiterbildung muss in ganz Europa ganz oben auf der Agenda stehen. Es ist ja auch eben schon im vorherigen Panel angeklungen. Es hat nicht nur was mit Arbeitsmarkt zu tun, auch eine Gesellschaft ist nur so gut, je gebildeter ist vielleicht das falsche Wort, aber je kritischer Menschen mit Informationen umgehen. Diese Diskussion holt uns doch fast täglich wieder ein. Und der heutige Tag ist ein Beispiel dafür. Um dahin zu kommen, brauchen wir eine erfolgreiche Bildungsstrategie und die muss aus unserer Sicht aus 3 Kernbereichen bestehen. Zum ersten kostenloser Zugang zu Bildung. Alle jungen Menschen brauchen Querschnittskompetenzen, dass sie in der Lage sind, fundierte Entscheidungen treffen zu können, Initiative zu entwickeln und Selbstbewusstsein aufzubauen. Lehrpläne müssen sicherstellen, dass junge Menschen neue Technologien nutzen und etwas damit entwickeln können und dass sie nicht nur Nutzer, Endverbraucher sind. Zweitens brauchen wir die Überarbeitung der Aus- und Weiterbildung. Komplexere Tätigkeiten führen zu neuen Anforderungen an Arbeitnehmerinnen und Arbeitnehmer. Die Aus- und Weiterbildung muss insgesamt enger mit der Arbeitswelt verzahnt werden. Und da müssen, ich habe eben gerade die deutsche duale Ausbildung so ganz grob erklärt, da müssen die Sozialpartner, Unternehmen und Arbeitnehmervertreter einbezogen werden, weil tatsächlich sind es nicht die Politikerinnen und Politiker oder die Beamten in der Kommission, die wissen, was in der Arbeitswelt von morgen, von übermorgen gebraucht wird, sondern es sind die, die ganz nah auch daran arbeiten. Der dritte Punkt ist die Institutionalisierung von lebenslangen Lernen. Wir brauchen eine Qualifizierungsstrategie, die dem Fachkräftemangel entgegenwirkt. Ich habe jetzt eben nur einen Teil der Diskussion mitbekommen. Wir haben nicht nur einen Fachkräftemangel in technischen Berufen, wir haben tatsächlich auch einen Fachkräftemangel, zum Beispiel auch in Pflegeberufen. Wir müssen also das nicht nur auf der rein technischen Seite sehen, sondern wir müssen auch wieder die gesamte Gesellschaft da betrachten. Lebenslanges Lernen muss aus meiner Sicht institutionalisiert werden, zum Beispiel durch einen garantierten Mindestanspruch auf bezahlten Bildungsurlaub. Als Berichterstatterin für den Initiativbericht zum digitalen Arbeitsmarkt will ich auch noch mal sagen, Bildungsurlaub gilt in manchen Ländern, zum Beispiel auch in Deutschland, für Arbeitnehmerinnen und Arbeitnehmer. Aber was ist, wenn wir immer mehr selbstständig tätige Arbeitnehmerinnen und Arbeitnehmer haben, die auf aktuelles Wissen angewiesen sind, um selbstständig tatsächlich auch noch ihr Geld ihr Leben lang verdienen zu können? Wer bezahlt denen dann die Weiterbildung? Weil die können zu dem Zeitpunkt, wo sie sich qualifizieren, kein Geld verdienen, müssen aber Geld bezahlen, dass sie tatsächlich übermorgen noch einen Auftrag bekommen. Auch an solche Dinge müssen wir denken. Ich bin gespannt auf die Diskussion und vielen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit.
Thank you very much. We go to Mr. Nekov. Since you are as well involved in reviewing a new skills agenda for Europe, can you also, besides your presentation, can you tell us, is it a step towards a real skills guarantee for all? Maybe share some other thoughts you have with us.
I'll make it in my intervention. Dear colleagues and guests, good afternoon, everyone. Again, it is a pleasure to me, for me to be here today with you. The topic we are discussing is very important, and in my capacity as a rapporteur for the skills agenda from the CAUT committee, and I decided to invite a group from experts from my own country, Bulgaria. They are sitting on the third row, and they are from in different positions: university professors, representatives of vocational education and training schools and trade unions, as well as young activists and journalists. I believe it would be interesting for you to hear their points of view regarding the different initiatives proposed in the skills package. Since we have the opportunity to have a debate with different stakeholders today, I would prefer to hear what do you propose to this report, because afterwards I can add to the main to the latest variant of the report. I think that the European Commission's proposal put rightly the focus on the need to upgrade the European education and training systems. However, the skills package is mainly business-oriented and lacks a strong social dimension. I believe that we should go beyond the right occupational skills. We should put our focus also on those aspects of education that are able to foster social inclusion, entrepreneurial mindset, and creativity. The EP report points out the need to recognize the potential of quality early education and care in reducing disadvantages. In this sense, the skills agenda lacks a forward-looking regard into the earlier basis of participation. With this pattern of inequalities, it is not surprising that about 70 million of Europeans lack basic skills such as reading, writing, and numeracy, which represent an obstacle for their ability to find a decent job. Access to education is a fundamental human right. In the same way, access to learning and training opportunities must be a right for everyone at every stage of life to acquire a set of skills as stated in the European Parliament report, European Pillar of Social Rights, which was written from my colleague Maria Joao Rodriguez. Moreover, equipping people with a minimum set of skills is not enough, and it is crucial to ensure that every individual is encouraged to acquire advanced skills and competencies in order to better adapt to the future. We should continue fighting for a more progressive skills agenda, which puts learners in the center of progress, and I will do my best as a rapporteur on the file to achieve this goal. The report also underlines that a stronger emphasis in the agenda is needed to the important role of non-formal and informal learning in reaching out and empowering learners. Significant progress has been made in the last few years in the context of Council recommendations on validation of non-formal and informal learning. By 2018, however, the provision of real access, recognition, and sustainability financial support remains a greater challenge. The main obstacle for the establishment of validation system in member states is the low level of priority in the political agenda. So, what we need political will to push forward this skills agenda with 10 points included inside in this package. And in this regard, I believe that the skills agenda needs to refocus on the role of non-formal education, which is key for the empowerment of people, and especially those who are low competent with limited opportunities to access to formal education. I think it is right to focus on basic skills, which are essential foundation for personal and professional fulfillment. Nevertheless, further emphasis is needed on STEM-related skills, which should be the main focus since early childhood and primary education. The earlier people acquire these skills, the better chances they will have to succeed in their educational and professional pathways. When it comes to entrepreneurial skills, I believe they need to be understood in this broader sense. They should be seen as a sense of initiative and participation in social actions, and therefore to be further emphasized in the skills agenda as a life skill. Last but not least, I would like to stress the necessity to modernize the European vocational education and training systems, as well as to put the spotlight on the potential of dual vocational system and the value of work-based learning, there is a need to increase the attractiveness of VET by making sure that young people and their parents have access to information on VET options. Furthermore, we should strengthen the vocational and career guidance practices both in the education system and the adult education. The emphasis should be on skills and competencies which are needed in the branches and sectors with high added value and investment potential of the different member states. Finally, I strongly believe that a special attention must be given to teachers who are the core of educational system. Further efforts have to be invested in attracting and motivating young people and educators to join and to work in the educational system. Investing and supporting the professional development of teachers is crucial in achieving good results in terms of education and skills development. The upskilling of the teachers will be the prerequisite for the delivery of the skills agenda. I think that I include all of the major points in the report, and in this regard, I'm looking forward to hear you for more proposals and suggestions in order to improve the draft report. Thank you so much for your attention.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Nekov. Also, thank you for inviting as well the people from Bulgaria, who will be leaving around 6 o'clock, if I'm not wrong. Then we move on in the panel to Mr. Brando Benifei. You are also in charge for the youth guarantees, and in the document of the Commission, it says to pay attention and to learn from implementation of the youth guarantee if we want successful a new skills agenda for Europe. Besides the input you want to provide, maybe it's interesting to reflect as well, because you are coming also from this process. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for this occasion of debate. I agree with what my colleague Silvia Costa said in the previous panel, that this topic of skills really needs, I think, a cooperation both at Parliament level and Commission, and I mean, a stakeholder community of both ample and cult remits in terms of the Parliament, and so it's very good that we are doing this together, because there is really an overall and a holistic need, we can say, for a skills strategy. Part of it is the new skills agenda that I will also say something about, and I mean, skills are a very good tool, we can say, to try to overcome some of the divides that we have been seeing also increasing in many cases in many countries in these years regarding young and old, male and female, poor and rich, north and south and west and east, we can say. I can say some words about some of the programs. You asked me about the Youth Guarantee, so I will say about that and the Youth Employment Initiative. But I just want to say, first of all, that in general, it's when we talk about this issue, very often it happens that people ask us and require us to do things that we cannot do, as the European Union competence is limited. So it's important that we also reflect this discussion in the overall discussion going on about the reframing of the European Union, the white paper discussion, the possible reforms, because there is one contradiction, especially, let me just say it, because I really think we have to reflect on that we have limited competences on education, which is part also of the skills issue, but then we end up having a lot of people that don't understand what we are talking about today, because they are not educated in schools about what the European Union does and how it works. And I think this is something, just let me say this in this context, that we should really reflect how we can push the member states to understand this more, because otherwise it's difficult for people to fully understand what they can do with the digital skills, with the new skills agenda, with the youth guarantee, if they have difficulty on understanding how EU and EU programs work, because no one taught about them to them in school. So to get more into the specifics, on youth employment initiative and youth guarantee, we have seen it as a reality going on in the member states. We have clear evidence already that where we have involvement of youth organizations and the local stakeholders, the projects are drafted in a better way by the regional governments, and there is a better results in terms of real employment being created after the process of matching and of promoting traineeships and apprenticeships through the program. Because we always have to say that youth guarantee, youth employment initiative, they don't create jobs per se. They create incentives for the economy and the job demand and offer to meet. So the consequence is that we see that clearly the places, the regions, the areas, the cities where there is higher than average growth and where we have better employment services, the results of the youth guarantee are better. We are working on this based on results that we already have from the Commission report, and we have now 2 implementation reports from the Parliament being worked on, one in Cont Committee and one in Ample Committee, regarding exactly a comprehensive assessment that starts, as I said, from these elements I was already saying that are, I would say, obvious, but should also tell us that we cannot rely on these programs as magic wands, but we need sustained economic growth and strategies to strengthen the employment services in the countries. Otherwise, the programs will turn from an activation measure into a cheap subsidy. This is what, in the best case. In the worst case, a mean to exploit young people, so because we know the cases. So we think we have to think in the context of a broader growth and economic strategy for European Union. I say that especially being a S&D, because I think this must be our approach as a social democrat and not another political family. Fighting the idea of creating internship limbo, and as I said, a cheap subsidy must be a guiding principle for the Youth Guarantee and Youth Employment Initiative, and we have to defend the results that we obtained. We have the numbers to see that there are results obtained, as I said, with some limits and with some characteristics, because we will otherwise, if we don't defend the results and understand where to make the program better, I insist again on the employment services and in the involvement of the youth organizations, exactly with also Tom and other representatives from organizations at the European level from the youth. We discussed exactly this, the involvement of the stakeholders, because we see as a common problem on the youth guarantee the lack in many cases, also in the more successful cases, a not still satisfying result in terms of outreach. We still need to reach more people which are NEETs of the, in the worst cases, longer-term unemployed, because we see that in these cases where also the soft skills, the basic skills are being lost by a long inactivity, these people are often the farthest away from reaching the European programs, and we need local cooperation to reach them. Very briefly, I want to mention also that I think it's crucial in this sense of local stakeholders' involvement, that the new skills agenda, when talking about the skills guarantee, is saying that we need to use in a more effective way the structural funds. We work a lot on the European Social Fund as Ample Committee. We need to do a better use of that to provide basic skills on numeracy, on literacy, and on digital skills for people, especially those who didn't complete formal education to at least to the end of their high school. I think this is a good objective from the Commission. We have to push the member states to effectively use in the best way the structural funds that we have for this. And I think it's important to stress the inclusive aspect and the inclusiveness of the measures. I work a lot on disability issue. We need to include more disabled young people in learning skills for being integrated in the labor market. It's always less expensive to integrate more people with a specific investment in tailor-made upskilling programs instead of having these people not active. We have to push very hard on this concept. And to conclude, I want to say that the mobility part also is important. It's something I've been working myself a lot, for example, on the European Solidarity Corps, the new project from the European Union, because skills can be learned also in a soft skills, non-formal education environment like that could be promoted to the Solidarity Corps. But as usual, the issue is the resources. We cannot support, I will oppose fiercely, the idea of giving money to new projects by draining money from the projects already there and in many cases working. One is the youth guarantee that obliged the member states to fight, to challenge themselves in making better employment services. Another example is the European voluntary service that cannot be drained for doing another project. We need new money. We need the Commission to push the member states to provide fresh money for the Solidarity Corps. Otherwise, we will not be able to support the project. And one last point is for skills, again, in mobility aspect. I've been working with some colleagues on the Erasmus Pro, that is now a project coming from a pilot project that we proposed to the Commission from the Parliament. And I think this must be a way forward, providing mobility opportunities. I was an Erasmus student myself, but also to people who are not into an academic background, so that through mobility they can learn new skills, have an exchange of experiences. Also, if they are, like in the case of the VET Erasmus, like the Erasmus Pro I'm talking about, that we promoted with a pilot project, if they are in this case as apprentices and they are not in an academic background. I think, and I conclude, that if we put this together and we work on recognition and validation of non-formal skills, which is something very important also when we talk about the refugee crisis and the need for more work in this sense, I think we will obtain some substantial step forward for a better skills environment in Europe. Thank you for this occasion of exchange, and I hope we can continue also the debate further on.
Thank you very much. We move panel now to Julia Simeonova. Let's just to remind panel to keep brief, 5 minutes simple, so we have at the end of the panel at least 35 minutes to discuss. Please.
So thank you very much for the possibility to take part in the discussion. I'm representative of the Confederation of Independent Trade Unions. That's why it's extremely important to underline that we are responsible for the quality of education, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible that we are representing and protecting the interests of working people or people who are capable to be employed. And in order to guarantee the skills development, the most important is the entrance into the panel, the access to education and the access to upskilling of each citizen, which is not only Bulgarian citizen but European one. And the last couple of years we are justifying that there are more and more third country representatives needed for Europe. It is not the refugee wave, but so we still have to start and to rethink the investment strategy within transferable skills, qualityful jobs, applicable skills, because we have mentioned already the high-skilled person who are not able to find appropriate place, and in some countries like southeastern European countries, it is really difficult. If I'm applying for a job and I'm coming from higher paid position, usually I'm not welcomed because the employers don't like to underpay, which means some persons could be in competency with the employer. So it is a little bit strange psychological aspect, but the most important is to guarantee the flexible and low stress adaptability of the workforce. And so I'm really happy that next year my country is going to be so host of the presidency. So we have chosen the slogan "Future of Work," which means not only digital skills, but also the possibility to develop such kind of quality employment that is allowing us to use the multicultural and multidisciplinary approach, so the holistic approach already mentioned, in order to support creative initiative, critical thinking, because in Southeastern Europe we are more criticizing than critically thinking. It's another aspect, and to support the work-based learning, which is really something very important. Why? Because the social partnership and the public-private partnership are two aspects which are still underestimated in a couple of countries. And so the investment in white, green, even pink jobs, it's something we have to consider, because the sectors already mentioned by Mr. Nekov, guaranteeing added value, are really in these sectors, and they are service-oriented, but at the same time they are creating some workplaces within the real economy. And for social partners, it is important to guarantee that we are using the bridges between generations, and we are enriching both my generation, able to submit some of the know-hows from the previous workplaces, and at the same time to be enriched by young people who have other kind of out-box thinking and action, so we can be really mutually investing into the generation, so that our mentors, especially in the dual vocational education and training, are able to upskill younger people, but at the same time to improve their own skills and proper thinking, including the health and safety aspects, which are really important. So we have discussed within the group of Bulgarian experts available here that it would be interesting if we are rethinking the model of education and the model of training, because in Bulgaria we are developing together the vocational education and training and the using of dual system, not only for young people but also for adults, and it is a good combination, because we had such kind of practice a couple of decades ago. Now we are reborn the same model, but within the digital or the fourth revolution agenda, which means we are able to develop such kind of platforms which are enabling our citizens, for example, to be upskilled when and wherever they are, all over Europe and all over the world. That's why the new technologies like challenge could be overcome if we are solution-oriented persons who are offering development of real skills for real employability. It doesn't matter if we are considering the working in clouds or in platforms as not a real job. And a lot of needs are employed. They don't know who is the employer. If they are not getting paid, it is difficult to claim. That's why we started and we developed a couple of years ago a special kit for youngsters. They are offering a lot of information. It's my first workplace. We are developing it on a platform, and it is really interesting because it is like so cartoon. Why? Because it was useful not only for youngsters but also for the teachers involved in submitting such kind of information, how we have to plan our future, what kind of professions and even psychological preparation is important in order to guarantee that we are able to work under decent conditions, which means also payment rate, because the social dumping challenges are really big, because persons from Central and Eastern Europe are able to work and sometimes to work for underpaid jobs, which is not really guaranteeing sustainability of the European Union. So we have a lot of messages. It is pity I have to leave. And the last message is, don't forget the posted workers, because they are not mentioned up to now. And we have some other groups like temporary agency employed, who have to be considered when we are discussing about skills and the sustainable European Union. Thank you very much. So I have to leave very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. That's why we changed a little bit the order of the panel. Let's go then to Tom. Tom, I guess we can logically continue the story about the trade unions and so on, maybe more from the youth perspective. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Have a safe trip home. So I'm Tom Vrijens from the ETUC Youth Committee. The ETUC is the European Trade Union Confederation, who gathers all the national trade union confederations affiliated to the ETUC. And therein there is an autonomous youth committee elected representing 80 national youth committee confederations and 8 federations. So for you to know who didn't know, we mainly take a position with all these youth trade unions about young workers and the transition from school to work. And this is very important within the trade unions, but also outside to other stakeholders. Like also we work a lot with Brando from the Youth Intergroup, for example. So on the skills agenda and the question towards a real skills guarantee with the proposal of the first draft document of the European Commission, we welcome as Youth Committee and also as ETUC this initiative. And I think there are a lot of points in there that the ETUC already demands it for a longer period of time, and it's very important now that we increase the skills and to face the inequality of young workers and workers in general through Europe. But let me make a few points that I didn't hear in all the interventions. We heard a lot about the mobility, the recognition, and so on. So I skip that. The first point I would like to make is that if we can upskilling the workers and the young workers, we need quality jobs. We see in precarious jobs, in zero-hour contracts, atypical forms of work, we see that there is no chance, no room or space of having training, lifelong learning, and so on. So if we don't work this out, if we keep inventing new types of contracts, if we keep having some kinds of employment that already mentioned before, then we will never can have some upskilling throughout the career, because this is very important. The skills are not only there taught when you're in school, but start already at the beginning of the career. And certainly if we see at the demographic challenges that we have, the active aging and so on, already a bit mentioned also by Julia. So we have to start already at the beginning of the career and give the space and the room for gaining more skills towards digital skills and so on. So this quality jobs is for the Youth Committee very important to do so. I hope that if we learn something about the Youth Guarantee that we think we support is a good initiative, but there are some lessons to learn. We pointed out together, Brando pointed out already some, but one is that we have to also focus to these workers or these youngsters who have to benefit from this. And for this skills guarantee, I'm convinced that we need to stress towards the low-skilled and the unemployed. I think this is very important that we invest in upskilling this group and that we open this towards a right of training for all workers. A right of training for all workers during their career, I think, is essential to do so. Secondly, if I heard a question about what is the success of the dual system in Germany, what is the success of the dual system in Austria, 1 minute, a quick 5 minutes. What is the success? It is the involvement of social partners, the involvement on the working floor level of trade unions together with the workers and the businesses to install this. I think this is the power of the dual system in Germany and in Austria. Thirdly, I want to point out that the ILO has a convention on educational leave. Only 13 European countries has ratified this convention. Why not broaden this up towards all the European countries? Why not have an educational leave for all workers within the EU to do so? I have 30 more seconds. 27. So 10 seconds for each. Following point is about the intergenerational perspective. I think it's very important. The social partners had recently signed an agreement on the activation and intergenerational approach, and it is good, and it's starting to come up. Getting a nice topic is about the reversed mentoring. Not only young people can learn from the old one, but also young people can learn the old one. And we have to do it in an intergenerational approach, because I think this is very important that we stress, and this can also be done in the skills agenda, this reverse mentoring, and that we build up an intergenerational spirit. Because if you also look at the Brexit discussion about in or out the EU, then you see that generational divide is emerging upon the horizon. And lastly, to do so, I think this is a very ambitious agenda. I think it's important that we need to invest. That's something that we learned also from the Youth Guarantee. We need a long-term investment to do so. And I think why not increase the ESF budget up to 30% of the whole envelope in the European Structural Investment Fund. I think by having more investment space there, then we can do something.
Okay, thank you very much. You managed to put also investment at the end. That was an additional minute. So just to worry other panelists not to do that. Otherwise, we lose the discussion moment. I pass floor to Lea, European Students' Union President. So what is the student, let's say, perspective about this new agenda in Europe?
Yes, thank you very much for having me here. As it has been mentioned, I'm representing ESU, which is the European Students' Union. We are representing higher education students. We are an umbrella organization which represents roughly 15 million students all around Europe, not only towards the European Union, but as well in the Bologna process and towards the Council of Europe. According to our policies, the multiple purposes of education are not only the immediate needs of the labor market for employment right now, but also transversal skills and also active citizenships, as we do think that higher education also has the task of the production of new scientific knowledge and the education of citizens which are capable of problem solving and of critical thinking, and also of supporting the progress of science as such. As the skills agenda is rightfully lining out, we are living in a very fast-changing environment, and therefore we believe that transferable skills are a prerequisite for lifelong learning and also for the adaptability through the whole life. All of the forecasting that has to be done also needs to take this into account and has to take care that not only the very immediate labor market goals are taken into consideration, as also the transferable skills in the end are very beneficial as well for the employers. And this, we believe, should not only be taken into consideration in higher education, but as well when reforming VET. Also, any measures for strengthening the basic skills and upskilling to complex skills have to be accompanied by measures for equal access to do so, as we heard before from Mr. Nekov. The groups which are affected actually by being very low skilled have to be addressed with tailor-made approaches in order to actually gain access to the related programs. While we have been told at previous events that, well, social inclusion and citizenship will be tackled in other documents, such as the Paris Declaration, we are really convinced that equal access to all levels of education is the prerequisite to also successfully upskill the European population, and therefore also needs to be taken into consideration for the skills agenda. Yes. Another important topic that has already been mentioned are digital skills, which are becoming increasingly crucial, not only in the labor market, but also for the whole societal involvement of youth and actually all over all age. We would like to emphasize that here we cannot speak only about pure technical abilities to use a computer program or to open your iPhone, but as well the abilities to actually understand and structure and process the immense information amount that we are actually facing at the moment. And in order to facilitate that for students, it is important to have continuous training also of our teachers to actually be able to work on this issue together with the students. This means that the teachers' training also needs to be emphasized on enhancement of teaching as such and its outcomes, and not to have digitalization to be misused to only save costs in education. Another issue is the recognition of diverse learning pathways, such as the informal and the non-formal learning, and this is also crucial in order to eliminate some of the obstacles to access to education and also to the labor markets. The practical problem-solving skills are very often especially coming from non-formal and informal learning and are acquired there, and this is getting increasingly relevant for a very fluid labor market. And despite the current discussions and the surrounding of Europass that we have heard, we do believe that it is very important to facilitate the recognition of non- and informal learning, not only when appropriate, but actually in general. Yeah. Then
30 seconds.
20, okay, then I will have to cut very briefly to the tertiary graduate tracking that we would also like to mention, which can deliver informations not only about the careers of students, but it has also a relevant way on how to actually find out about the analysis of the barriers that underrepresented groups in higher education are facing and are facing also after completion. What is the problems for them to actually access as well the labor market? And therefore, this tool should be used much broader as it is described in the strategy, and furthermore, care needs to be taken that also such subjects as humanities or social sciences, which are not leading to a concrete profession but are increasingly relevant in this very fast-changing labor market, which is also subject to automatization and digitalization, shall not be the victims of actually cuts towards these fields in education, as we do believe that relevance cannot be limited to a very direct alignment to a very concrete job. as we do believe that in the end we are working on a prosperous labor market in order to support the well-being of the individuals in the European Union, and we are not having individuals in the European Union working for a prosperous labor market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We go to the last panelist in this case, Teresa Zank. She's coming from European University Association. In your CV, I saw you have degrees in Romance philology, right? And as well, here we are speaking a lot about a very serious document coming from the Commission, a report from the Parliament. How it is for you to look from that perspective on these kind of serious documents? I'm kidding a little bit, but you can also reflect on this as well.
Okay, I wasn't exactly planning to comment on this from a philologist point of view, you will excuse me. The advantage of being here as the last in the panel is that everything basically has already been said, so I'll try to be very brief. I'm from the European University Association. We represent 850 higher education institutions across the broader meaning of Europe, the European higher education area, which is composed by 47 higher education systems / countries, if I'm not mistaken, and also 34 national rectors conferences, which are the gatherings at national levels of rectors from universities. I just would like to pick up a few points that were already mentioned and perhaps give them from the higher education sector perspective. EUA actually issued already a response to the new skills agenda a while ago. I just would like to point out one thing that's been repeatedly said already today, is that we believe in addition to skills for employment and for the labor market and related to the labor markets, we should underline the general importance of skills and education for the wider benefits of individuals and society. This is about the whole dimension of citizenship skills, social integration, social inclusiveness, ultimately the societal role of higher education and education in general, and also a strong emphasis on transversal skills, which can be related to research understood in a broader sense, research skills, organizational skills, social skills, skills for critical thinking, which to me sounds quite critical indeed in these times of #alternative facts, skills for intellectual autonomy, and basically for addressing an active life as a citizen and as a professional in general. So if we are talking about a skills agenda in this all-encompassing approach of the notion of skills, we just also need to refocus, but a really, really strong policy focus on, okay, I'll try to be very brief because I see that everybody is running out. But this very strong policy focus on lifelong learning and the concept of lifelong learning, which should really be at the core of any skills agenda we would like to put on tracks, for the very simple reason that we are all lifelong learners. We are not into a paradigm when we are learning a big package of knowledge at the very beginning, let's say the 2 first decades of our lives. We are about fluctuant, let's say, labor markets. We are about fluctuant professional lives. We are about acquiring smaller packages of skills, competences, whatever you would call it, all the way throughout our lifetime. So we are not only talking here about the youth, we are not only talking about adult learners, we are talking about how to best use the potentials from both the learner side and, let's say, the skills provider side, and by skills provider I would include higher education institutions, so that learning can take place in different contexts, at different paces, with different delivery modes. I'm also relating this to this discussion about digitalization and digital learning, for diverse profiles of learners, and all that to the best benefit of learners in general. So I have the feeling that lifelong learning has been very high on the policy agenda, like a decade ago or something. EUA even worked on a lifelong learning charter for universities, upon demand from, I think it was the French presidency. But then it lost a little bit of shiny priority, let's say. Perhaps the word was not that sexy anymore, I don't know. But it seems to me that some discussions we are having here are not really new, but they perhaps need another policy focus. I will just finish by pointing out a few discussions that we are having at higher education policy level and relate to what we discussed here.
The first one being that in universities and in higher education institutions and in general, I have the feeling we more and more work on more adaptable, more flexible learning path. This is of course also related to the modularization that is that was prompted by the Bologna process, but that is getting greater and greater importance now. The second point is also the, let's say, the overall development of learning and teaching activities in higher education. The last Bologna Ministers' communique in 2015 underlined the importance of student-centered learning. Now, you will find many different definitions of student-centered learning. We can have a whole discussion on student-centered learning. But what seems important to me here to underline is the focus on learning, not only on teaching, but also on learning. This focus really on the way learners do make the best out of what they receive. And I think universities are also very much working on this, indeed, on how to better reflect about university pedagogy, about how to address at best and make the most beneficial way of new delivery modes in a digital way, in a flipped classes way, in other ways, in innovative ways. And this point, and I will conclude here, also strongly relates to teaching enhancement. So the training of teachers. And what I would like just to add here is that to us it's a question of focus on the learning side, of course, but in the university sector, what is not always obvious is that there is not always a parity of esteem, indeed, between the teaching and learning activity and between the research activity. And in many national regulatory frameworks, it is still the outcomes in terms of research that would drive the careers of academic staff. So I think for individual staff members as well as for institutions, it is not only a question of putting the emphasis on learning and how to make these skills acquired. It's also a question of how they evolved in their own environment and how a really full learning environment can be created to the best benefit the learners. That's it. 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly 4:40. I know it looks always for us that we speak less than 5 minutes. Thank you very much for your input. In the meantime, while I was running through the panel, we got also Marita Ulfskog here also with us at the panel. She is the vice chair of the employment committee, working also on social protection and as well some other issues. She will be making also the closing remarks. Yes, we are quite some people in the room. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We lost the third row, that was our guests from Bulgaria, but due to technical reasons, they need to leave. So don't worry. Overall, we are not that bad. We are still enough people to have a proper last 30 minutes discussion. And as I promised before, we're going to make, again, the small exercise here, so you can wake up. You are not now listening, but you are taking a little bit more active role here. I forgot as well, Commission is also here. Our dear Commission, thank you for being dedicated until 6 o'clock. That's already a great contribution. Not only that. Okay, so as we did in the, it has been a long time ago, we did this exercise with yes, no. I have prepared some question here that was, this question appeared already in discussion, but maybe we didn't discuss so much in deep, so there is a chance. So the question is going like this. Is a European tool for skill needs forecasting the best instrument to estimate future skill needs and adapt them better to the jobs available on the labor market? Some of you, we were discussing, can we preview exactly what are the needs? Or we cannot preview. There was an interesting discussion on this. So look at that, and I ask you, especially people who are really studying hard this document, like me preparing for this session, to say yes and raise up the hand. Who think the answer is yes? Except me, because I shouldn't speak why I support yes. Nobody? Is there somebody who says no? Okay, we have some people with no. So is there somebody who is like, would say yes, but is afraid I will make some uncomfortable question to explain? No? Nobody. So we have a agreement that is, no, I want somebody from there who said no, to say why not. Why you said no? Very, very fast. I don't have any pen now in this case. Please.
Unfortunately. Raffaela Kira, European Association for the Education of Adults. Well, I think this is not really the question, whether we have any tool to forecast any or estimate any future skills. We already know which skills are needed, and those are transversal and generic skills. So it's not about really specific skills for a certain job or the labor market. I mean, all these transversal and social generic skills, they are all important for the labor market, and that will stay like that. It's not something that will change, but everything that is more specific, that is really just training for a specific job, that will change, and it's very difficult to know what is happening in 5 or 10 years. Ellen from the Lifelong Learning Platform already pointed that out, so yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Please.
I also wanted to add just two short sentences on that. So I think she's right. So adaptability is not really a measurable skill. Adaptability to new situations, to new needs in a company, for example, and the openness to add those small packages, as Ms. Zhang said, to your hard skills or already to the skills that you have is very important. And short sentence to what Jutta said about the lack of carers' skills, and unfortunately also Mr. Reuter is not here anymore. He also mentioned this, that robots will maybe replace carers. I think this is impossible. You cannot replace humans when taking care of other humans, or I think it's not good to do that. You can use robots to ease your work when transporting or moving different people that cannot move anymore, but to replace them, it's for me it's not making really sense. But we have for sure a lot to do to bring those skills to more people.
Thank you very much. Also, idea replacing the moderator with a robot is maybe not necessarily a bad idea. I think we should think about that as well. No charm, no robot. Okay, so we got a lot of input from the panel. What about you? What's your opinion about the topics that have been emphasized there? Questions, doubts, something? We are still enough people in the room for a contribution. Anybody would like to speak? Yes, Commission, please.
Thank you. Paul Holdsworth from the Adult Learning Team at the European Commission. As probably one of the oldest people in the room, I'd like to just raise a voice for older people. There are 400 million adults in the Union. We often forget when we're talking about skills, we often think about young people, but there are 400 million people, each of whom needs to be continually upskilling, continually learning. And that's one of the key messages of the skills agenda. And I was pleased to hear Mr. Freyen say that we need to focus on the low-skilled, because we can't possibly do everything at the same time. 70 million low-skilled people or low-qualified people is a big number. It's interesting, one of the things that struck me when we were negotiating with the education ministers, education committee, was that all the ministers were agreeing that, yes, we must do something about this problem of low-skilled adults, 70 million people. There's consensus. But an enormous number of member states said, but we don't want to pay for it. We don't want to pay for it. We want the European Union to pay for it. So on the one hand, we have this paradox that every member state says it has an education and training system, and yet you would think one of the basic things of an education and training system would be that it would teach people to read and write. And yet we're clearly not doing that for 70 million people. We haven't done that. So there's a paradox in that lifelong learning and basic skills learning is still not sufficiently at the center of our education and training system, and that's why the Skills Guarantee proposal, which is now the Upskilling Pathways initiative, aims to really tackle the challenges that are faced by those people who are in most precarious positions. Because if you have low skills, you have low qualifications, even if you have a job, and 30 million of low-skilled people do have a job, they are in very precarious positions. They risk de-skilling. They have very little chance of doing training at work. They're often in very low-paid jobs, very precarious jobs. So these people are in a low-skills trap, which is why out of all the 400 million people, adults, who need to be learning, the Commission really wanted to focus on those who are low-skilled. And as Commissioner Tyson said, we've done just about all we can. The Commission has been very flexible in saying how Member States can use European social funds, for example, to implement the upskilling pathways. We're producing other initiatives to help them through peer learning and through awareness-raising issues. But still, now is the time for Member States to really come up to the plate and start implementing the upskilling pathways and really start helping at least some of these 70 million adults who struggle with reading, writing, and digital skills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we got a perspective also from the adult learning department from the Commission as well. Thank you very much for this. Panel? Yes? You want to speak again? Please.
Sorry
but
that
that's the last one, yeah?
Yeah, sorry that I'm taking up so much of your time. I would just like to add to what Paul Holdsworth said, that well, we have now talked a lot about low-skilled people and about access to education, but what is also really important is how we reach out to those persons. And Momcil Nekov already touched upon this issue a bit. It's really important to see in whichever education we are, how we can reach out to those that are furthest away from learning, those that are not already in an environment that is empowering and that gives people the opportunity to learn. So that is a big challenge, but here non-formal adult education can play a role to bring people back to learning through low threshold learning opportunities, such as this could be language courses or also ICT courses or just some leisure courses that bring people together and create a social atmosphere that also make people active as citizens and that give skills beyond skills for the labor market.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Any other people from the audience? Any other intervention?
Marco, are you sure?
Yes, please.
No. I don't want to take the floor. I'm just asking you, are you sure to giving the floor to another people?
Yes, but if they don't want to speak, I have prepared another question, so we can make it more entertaining, because it's 6:10 already, and not this one, but the next one. This one is already too serious for 6:10. So there is a question. According to the Council recommendation of December 19 from last year, validation and recognition arrangements should be in place by which date to ensure that the upscaling pathways are a success. So I want some people from the crowd to give me the correct answer. I don't have a pen for this, but you will feel good if you manage to catch the right answer. Anyone? Already some people mentioned here. Commission, I don't ask. We have one pen. Okay, perfect. Can I get? Because, no, that one is very. Can I get this one? It's okay. Yes? You're going to try?
Yes, it's 2018.
Yes, exactly. So
well, that's what it's supposed to be.
This is, that's a great answer, no? Anyway, because I took this question because in the last sentence you said it's time for the member states to get the commitment to do the things and so on. This is one of the things that I know you are hardly pushing them. So you didn't get the pencil that was provided. Is not a really good quality. So I promise you get a coffee from me on this answer. Thank you very much. Any other interventions from the audience? If not, I can go back to the panel as well and see if we have some other interested people. No? Nobody's there. Okay. Remember this date, 2018. If we don't have So many. Commission is okay? You're satisfied? Good, good, good. If there is no other questions from the crowd, I was trying to squeeze you very hardly, but it didn't work this time. So that's why I said before, maybe a robot could do better moderation job. So think about S&D Secretariat, think about this next time. I would like to pass floor to Marita Ulovskog, and she will make a closing remarks for this second panel. Please take the floor.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the privilege of closing this conference. I'll try to my best to give a sort of summary, although I couldn't be here the entire time. But the subject is always on the agenda for also the Employment Committee, where I'm acting chair, and the full name of the committee is the Employment and Social Committee, and that means that we have a very broad agenda. I want to thank my colleagues, those who are still here, and to all of you who have listened, because if we didn't have those sort of meetings, those seminars, I think that it would be more difficult for us to take the right decisions. And that is why the S&D group try to meet with people in this formal and informal way, where we educate and enlighten each other. There seems to be a wide agreement that we should not only increase workers' skills, but also acknowledge those skills that already exist, but have been acquired through ways outside formal training, such as, for example, voluntary work. And it has been emphasized that it is important for us to remember that the strength of highly trained workers is not only beneficial for the individual, but it also makes our countries more competent and skilled in a way so that we can compete and we can stop the race to the bottom by lowering wages, for example, that was mentioned. And that is a race we never can win, because there will always be someone from another part of the globe that is in such a situation that she or he will be prepared to lower their wages even lower than we have in the European Union in some regions, just to get to work. We need to take the responsibility for skills training, absolutely, and that is a public responsibility and a public good, and training must be available for everyone at any point of their life. And I think that Tom was very clear, and I have the same view as Tom, that we really also have to see that we are still class societies, all of the member states in the European Union. And you have another possibility, you have fewer possibilities if you are working class, or if you are even lower than working class, because you haven't not reached that far. And that also we shall invite the social partners to be part of the journey we have to still have to do, so that we can involve people, that we can find ways to education, and after education you can find ways to a job and a life when you can take your own decisions. It's about freedom, actually, in the end. When it comes to the tools that we are now discussing in the new skills agenda, as well as the Europass revision and the revision of the EQF, it's clear after hearing this discussion and other similar discussions that we really need to aim for improved mobility for working people and for learners. And this means that training as a part of reducing the skills mismatching as a priority will be essential in creating a sustainable labor market and social mobility. But it's also, and perhaps that was what I meant 1 minute ago, it's not only about creating jobs, it's about creating hope. We need to make sure that all young people know that they can go to a higher education if they want to, or if they have reached that point in their lives. So they really have the strength, they have the inner power that they say to themselves, I can do it. I want to do something more. I want to have a better life. I want to have a better education. And then there must be the possibility that we have invested in educational alternatives, and that we have that every one living here or coming here can have an access to these opportunities. And therefore it's promising for us in the S&D group to listen to what you said here, and it's not far from other seminars we have had on not exactly the same subject but close to this one. Our agenda in the Social Democratic Group is in creating a sustainable labor market where our citizens can compete, or refugees or whatever can compete by being competent, not by costing the least. We have to compete with being the very best, and that makes it absolutely necessary. And then we know, all of us, that you get a lot of joy in life by learning, by education, and by seeing the possibilities in your life, not only when you are 17 or 23, but actually all the way. And that is extremely important. Creating ways for everyone to take part of education at any stage of their lives is not only important because it gives people skills, it's also because of the hope and the equality in life that it creates. So thank you all for being here and for staying and for being part of the discussion. It was interesting to listen the hour I spent here with you, and I'm sure that those who have already left also got something out of it. We will come back on this subject because it's a crucial one, but thank you for today.
Thank you as well. Thank you again for the nice closing remarks. The session had the main objective to spark a little bit of discussion, to different social partners and stakeholders to provide a feedback to this initiative. We had some questions here that maybe are not clarified, but as you said, this is going to be continued. Some of the things, basic skills versus complex skills, where to start, what is more important, it stayed a little bit in the air, depending from the stakeholder to the stakeholder. Digital trends and how to answer to them, maybe some more answers are needed. How to incorporate the social component in the more business-orientated programs where needed. So those are some of the questions. Until the next time, before we just leave the room, I would like to thank you for all panelists and the ones who already left, for the audience as well, especially for the ones who stayed until the end. You are really heroes of the day. And especially for the Secretariat of the S&D that was preparing this session and also invite me to be here with you until the next time. Enjoy your afternoon in Brussels for the ones who arrived and as well the ones who live in Brussels, because we sometimes forget to do that. Thank you very much.